Imagine the possibility of selling beyond expectations. Partners, we make it possible.
Army to come into our
Come on,
country
Lou.
and beat their way through it, and whilst doing it, with a this is the darkest stain on British history ever. We have allowed an invading army to come into our country and beat their way through it, and whilst doing it, we've attacked anyone who spoke out against it. And right now, British people are scared. Our women are scared. We can visually see what's happened. It was a derelict house, like an abandoned home. And these are in government reports. The police turned up. 6 Muslim men had a 12-year-old girl sexually abusing and raping her. They arrested the little girl for being drunk and disorderly. They arrested the little girl. And this is going to sound unbelievable. 2 dads, their 13-year-old daughters are being raped in the house by 6 Muslim men. The fathers got together. They went to the house to get their daughters back. The police turned up. They arrested the dads. Some Lucian, Jamaican, Bulgarian, Italian, all of us. My mum's Irish. We're all the sons of immigrants. It pretty much works. But what doesn't work is Islam. The Islamic community do not integrate or assimilate. It's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different machine. A phobia is an irrational fear. The things I've spoken to you about, the things I've seen, what's happening to our country, does any of it sound irrational to feel what we're seeing?
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody's doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. And as always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. I've had some controversial people on my platform because I'm not afraid of controversy. If I want to speak to somebody, I'll do it, whether I agree with them, disagree with them, whether people like it or, have a little bit, something to say about it. And my guest today is a fellow by the name of Tommy Robinson. Probably know him. He's from the United Kingdom. He's been called an extremist. He's been called every name under the sun because of his views. And his views are really anti what's going on in the United Kingdom right now, anti-government. And I'm giving him his platform. As you may or may not know, he grew up.
Hey, I was never here. Good to see you.
Andrew had some controversy about him, with him, or his relationship with him not too long ago, because an incident happened in the United Kingdom, and it was a Muslim claiming it was a Muslim that perpetrated this act.
I was never here. We watched him yesterday. What he says is happening, whether Mossad sets him up or not, what he says is happening.
And people of the Muslim faith were upset with Andrew because he stood up for his friend. And Andrew didn't back down. I got to tell you something about Andrew. He is who he is. He doesn't back down. He doesn't change colors. He is who he is. I've been, criticized for being friends with him, but hey, I am who I am. And I know Andrew differently than a lot of people do, differently than his public persona sometimes on social media. And I consider him a friend. I consider Tristan a friend. Nobody's going to change that. I'm sorry. I know him differently than and Andrew had the same position with Tommy, even though there was some controversy about it with the Muslims. As you know, Andrew is a Muslim, but Andrew said, hey, I'm a Romanian, but that doesn't mean every Romanian is a good person. Sometimes things go wrong. The same thing with Muslims, same thing with Christians. I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean every Christian is always, terrific and never does anything wrong. What's the difference? I'm Italian. Does that mean that I never say an Italian did anything wrong? Of course not. It's silly. You stick up for your friends and you stick up for what's right. And I think you're going to have a very interesting take on Tommy Robinson. Now, let me tell you something. People, stop with the politics. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about issues that affect our...
I was never here. Where did you get he's a Mossad agent? Where did you get that from? Just curious.
lives. It happens to be politicians that cause these issues one way or another. But these are issues that affect our lives, okay? So understand this. And what happens in the United Kingdom eventually happens here in the United States. These two countries are very much tied together throughout history. So you got to understand what's going on in the UK.
That's why I watch you guys so much, America and Britain, especially America. If America falls, the whole West will fall as well.
What's happening in the United States, how they're, so tied together. And I think you're going to get an impression of Tommy. I want to see what it is. I'll hear it in the comments. I know what you're going to say. I know right away some of you are going to say, if he says anything good about Trump, you're not going to like him because he says something about Trump. You know what? That's it's almost childish to be like that. Listen, if somebody does something right, you agree with it, whether you like them or not. I have to hand it to the mayor of DC, Ms. Bowers. She finally's come around and she's thanked Trump for stopping the crime in D.C. when others won't do that. This idiot, in Illinois, Pritzker, the governor, I'm going to oppose.
Yeah, I was never here. He was saying yesterday he went to Israel. He actually went to Israel too.
Donald Trump, no matter what, if he sends in troops here to stop the violence. Meanwhile, over the holiday weekend, there were 30 shootings, 6 killings in the city of Chicago. And you don't want help to get it under control? It's been happening like that for years, ever since the Obama administration. You know how ridiculous they are? If they would go along and say, you know what?
I was never here. Tommy's done a bit of jail for his beliefs. So as a Mossad agent, he sits in jail for 2 years.
I agree with what Trump did. He stopped the violence. He made the neighborhoods safer. Wouldn't people applaud him for that? Trump's not running in 28. If people see that you have some kind of a conscience and you can say something is right when it's right, whether you like the person or not, isn't that to your benefit?
Yeah.
I'm getting off on a tangent. Let me go back. Tommy Robinson, I think you're going to enjoy this. Listen to what he has to say. It's extremely important. He's been arrested several times. I don't know if they're going to try to kill this guy or not because of his views. But listen to what he has to say. This is something I think you should hear all the way through. He talks about Christianity. He talks about Muslims. He talks about what's going on in his country. He talks about...
He talks about Christianity. That'll be interesting to see what he's got to say.
Women. He talks about a lot of things. But what he's saying is accurate. So
yeah, I
whether you
did.
Like somebody or not, if they're giving you facts that prove to be true, they are what they are.
Yeah, I know that about Epstein, but Epstein's a different kettle of fish than Tommy Robinson.
My next guest, Tommy Robinson, he's a controversial guy. At the end of my conversation, I find myself agreeing with him quite a bit. So with no further delay, my very special guest, Tommy Robinson. All right, Tommy, before we start, I think we have a very good mutual friend in Andrew Tate.
We do. We grew up together. He's from my hometown of Luton. There's something in the water in Luton.
Yeah, Andrew had a lot of nice things to say about you, and he certainly encouraged that we sit down together. So I was glad to hear that.
That's good. I appreciate it.
Are you in Luton now?
I am close to Luton. Yeah, I'm on the outskirts of Luton.
So, Tommy, let me ask you this. Let me start off this. You're a pretty controversial guy, which I'm no stranger to also. I've been pretty controversial throughout my life. But what is it that, was it something in your childhood that gave you this passion to just facilitate change in things? What do you think it is about you that's motivated you in this way?
I think that where you grow up, what you see and what you experience chisels who you are. So I'm the man I am because I grew up in Luton Town, which is where Andrew Tate grew up. Now, Luton Town is 30 miles north of London. It's a very poverty-stricken town. It's known as the roughest town in Britain. It's been named the roughest town in Britain. But when I was born in 1982, we had one mosque. Now we now have 45.
Hey, Shawnee.
So I've seen massive change. And from that change, I've seen an effect on culture, freedom. I've seen hostility, violence. What we now know as grooming, which is of young girls at the hands of predominantly Muslim gangs. So, and as you said, I'm a very controversial figure because unfortunately, speaking out and telling the truth about men raping children was actually really...
Shawnee, I'll check that out later on, and if it's good, because it looks good, I'll do that on Wednesday's stream. I'm not streaming tomorrow. We got a big event happening in Australia.
Controversial. In fact, speaking up for England and British culture was controversial. Flying your England flag was controversial. We lived under a massive... The only way I can describe it is that fear is paralysing, and the fear of political correctness, i.e. being called a racist, paralysed our entire country. It paralysed the police, it paralysed the public, and it paralysed the politicians from any of them speaking the truth to power. But on any of the issues which I'm known for talking about, obviously I'm known for talking to my opposition of mass immigration. I speak very openly about Islam. Andrew Tate's now a Muslim, which is quite crazy because as we're still friends. Yeah, I have Muslim friends, so obviously I separate Muslims from Islam. I see Islam as a problem for Britain. I see it causing mass problems in Europe when it's taken it in its literal interpretation. So
All right, quick interruption. If you really want to get some insight into me, and I mean insight, Zoom calls, Q&As, behind the scenes information, stories I've never told before. You want to become part of the elite? Then join the family. We have over 1,000 members already. michaelfrancis.com/family. It's an offer that you shouldn't refuse. Now let's get back to the show.
But I've always had I'm quite a stubborn person. So most people, and you know what, if I explain it, it was never going to be female doctors and nurses that stood up to the Islamization of Britain. Yeah? So I was from a rough background. I get quite a lot of criticism because of my past, which there's not even really much in my past, other than the fact if you punch me, I'll punch you back. And because of that ethos is probably the only reason, because of my upbringing, why I didn't run and hide after the first broken nose or the first terror plot against me. So that's who I am. I work as a journalist since 2015. I've made 10 feature-length films, and I've exposed and spoke about issues. I was speaking about.
I was never here. We had a lot of immigrants, Muslim immigrants, coming on the boat as well, but our government put them on offshore detention camps and deported them as soon as they could. So we didn't let that happen to us. They tried that, but we stopped it.
15 years ago, now the public realised it was real. All the issues I warned about have come into fruition. So I'm sitting in a much better place now than I was 10 years ago. I was pretty much the most hated man in Britain 10 years ago. I faced opposition everywhere I went. So.
And do you find your views are being accepted more now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the open window has shifted so much. I don't think for Americans to understand, this country has shifted more in 12 months than my entire generation. Yeah, there has been a mass awakening. People who were scared to talk are now talking. There's a tidal wave of patriotism and nationalism currently sweeping Britain that I've dreamed about. I've waited. I've banged my head against the wall for 15 years, trying to beg the public to understand what's happening, trying to warn them that Luton, my hometown, and the demographical change of that town and the things I've seen are a blueprint for every town and city if we continue to allow mass open border immigration. And I knew when I first spoke up against Islam, because I've grown up in Luton, I knew I'd face threats, I knew I'd face danger. Muslims are serving 30 years, 5 of them, they got caught with guns and bombs on the way to kill me. I've had 12 official government Osman warnings. An Osman warning is an official warning for danger to your life after intelligence from the government. I've had 12.
Wow.
I expected that. There's threats to my family. I've had to relocate 8 different times. My cars have been blown up. I expected all of that. What I didn't expect, Michael, was the attack from the state. I thought the country I live in.
I was never here. Trump's a rogue candidate in the Illuminati card game. You look up rogue candidate and it's Trump. You can see it's Trump. There's a picture of him.
Country I thought I lived in. When I started speaking in 2009, I thought I lived in Great Britain. I thought I live in the land of freedom and democracy. We have free speech. And I very quickly realised we live in a totalitarian state. And free speech, we now in Europe, we live in a post-free speech era. So I have faced the full weight of the British establishment. I'm not worried about getting killed walking down the street. I'm worried about what the government and the state are going to do to me next. I've been in prison multiple times. I come out 3 months ago after spending 7 months on solitary confinement for making a film, a factual-based film. I'm a journalist. That's my job. I was given an 18-month prison sentence. And that's not the first time. So, and just so people understand, in America, there's been a mass conspiracy. It's not a mass conspiracy of silence from political leaders, religious leaders, politicians, to cover up the fact that across this country,
or they had Trump booked in from the beginning.
in every town and state,
they knew it, because them card games were made in the 90s, 96, I think it was. So they must have knew back then they were going to pick Trump as a rogue candidate already.
85 town and city.
That's like all the things that happen, the future stuff that happens on The Simpsons. They get told that because that's the plan.
These and destinations have been uncovered in a gang inquiry. The term that I think now the whole world knows as grooming, Elon Musk has been sharing lots about it this week. I call it the Rip for Britain. The government and the police knew about it for 30 years, and they sacrificed a generation of our daughters, because if they would have openly accepted the problem, which is that
They started doing that in the year 2000 in Sydney. They were going around doing the wrong thing to women, white women, if you know what I mean. Well, we jailed them for 30 years when they got pinched. So we stopped this grooming stuff before it even took off.
The majority of Muslim men are kidnapping and raping English girls from one end of this country to the other. And if they were to accept it and allow the public to see it, then that would expose failures on their policy. The government's policy was to open our borders to Kashmir, to Pakistan, to Afghanistan, to Iraq, to all these countries with men who enter our nation who are culturally so different to us. They are hostile to us. They have a degenerate view of females, their own females, but especially ours as non-Muslim women. And what we've witnessed, and this was covered up for so long. So obviously when I started talking about it, so many politicians, so many police forces have got dirty hands, that their answer to this problem, when I started raising awareness on the streets with an organisation called the English Defence League, literally thousands and thousands of young English men were charging through towns and cities, demanding the end of our daughters. At that point, their answer, the government, the establishment, was to crush me. Not just crush me, to use their weapon of the state, which was the media, to slander us, to attack us, to demonise us, and then to imprison us, to bankrupt me. I got hit with the full weight of the British state. Something Andrew Tate's facing now, something anyone that challenges the government establishment narrative faces. So, yeah, that's what's going on.
My friends, you may not have heard, but I have now a wine branded in my name. Franzese wine is from the world's oldest vineyards. We have something for everybody. We got beautiful alcoholic wine.
That's very true. I was never here. That's very true.
And of course, non-alcoholic wine. Big sellers. People are loving it. Get it. Tell your friends about it. The world's first vineyards. It's an offer that you shouldn't refuse. So go to franzesewine.com and enjoy it. Have a toast on me. Well, you know, Tommy, we had a similar situation here in the United States, a little bit different, but similar. And I've been very outspoken about our last administration allowing this mass immigration to come in and infiltrate towns. And, you know, a lot of, you know, and the motivation behind it, in my view, was to bring all of these people in, regardless of the fact that they were doing a lot of damage in cities and towns, because they wanted to spread them throughout every state so that they would vote blue. And we'd never see a Republican government again. And, you know, here's the thing. What I tell...
They're still doing that now, aren't they? Jailing Christians who protest. Or even if they just got a sign about Christ, they get locked up.
People all the time, this stuff starts with leadership. They're the ones that cause all of this. It's not the people on the ground. It's not the people living in the communities trying to live their lives. But what is it? What do you think is motivating the leadership in England, Britain, the UK, to do what they're doing, to allow this damage to come into the country?
Great question.
So
imagine if every corner of your countertop was as impressive as that corner. With just a twist, a click, or a press of a button, it can be. Because there are kitchens, and then there's KitchenAid.
Come on, ads.
Breakfast convenient. All Carmen's granola.
Peace of mind starts here when you protect your home with BOQ insurance. You can get a quote in just 3 minutes.
So Tony Blair was our ex-Labour leader, and Labour are your Democrat party, and he's openly admitted, that his previous policy of open border mass immigration was to rub the right's nose in it. So he purposely opened the borders of the UK for non-stop Islamic immigration to rub the right's nose in it. Now, I believe you're right. I believe that Joe Biden was importing 8 million voters. That's what the hope was, letting illegals vote, etc. Now, all of the migrants that come into this country, they're loyal to Labour. So, but the problem we have in this country wasn't just Labour. The Conservatives for 14 years had power. They had an open border mass immigration policy as well. It drives the wages down. It suits the corporation. It pretends that the money bubble isn't bursting. So, and we've had the United Nations Migration Pact, the European Union. It's not a mistake that migrants have flooded the United States. They've flooded Canada. They've flooded every European nation. That's not happening by mistake. It's organised. It's planned. Now, people who think that's a conspiracy about, you know the Republic of Ireland. So my mum's from the Republic of Ireland, and in Ireland about 3 years ago, when Ireland doesn't have immigration and hadn't had immigration. In fact, all the immigration leaves Ireland. The young Irish leave, they come to America, they come to England, they go and find work. But in Ireland, about 3 years ago, they opened their borders and they had mass immigration, uncontrolled immigration. And the people started protesting and there was trouble on the streets. So I flew straight to Ireland and I made a documentary called Plantation to Rise of the Celts. You can watch any of my investigations and my documentaries at trfilms.co.uk. But when I went to Ireland, I went to document what was happening. And when I looked, I found an Irish politician, their lead politician, and he had put out a statement on all social media. The government had sponsored this message, and they translated it into 6 languages. And in the translation of the 6 languages, what they said is that if asylum seekers, they basically invited people. If
Hello, mate. Welcome to the channel.
Asylum seekers come to Ireland, they will be given the keys to their own home within 3 months. Yeah, that's what this message translated as.
Yeah.
So I took what he said and the date he said it, and then I looked 12 months.
Yeah, we're pro-Jewish here. We're a Christian channel. We're pro-Israel.
Months later, at the immigration figures and asylum seeking figures, and what were the top 6 countries? There's like 20 countries. What were the top 6 countries? They're the countries that the Irish government had purposely translated an invitation into their nation for asylum, and they give preference, as we're seeing now in Britain, preference to Afghanis, to Somalis, to Eritreans to get on the housing market and jump the queue over any Irish citizens who have been waiting for 10 years or 20 years. And exactly what we're seeing in Ireland is exactly what we're seeing in the UK. It's what we're seeing across the whole of Europe, where finally the United States have elected a president who puts American people first. But unfortunately, the European Union is working for a global plan. The Keir Starmer, our leaders, are working against the interests of the native population. We are being replaced. Why? Look, 30% of London is now English. You could get off a plane at the German capital, in Paris. You could get off in Sweden's capital. You could get off in any capital of any Western nation. Walk down the street, you won't know what country. You wouldn't. If it wasn't for black cab taxis, that's our famous 200-year black cab taxis, which is the last English trade of London. If it wasn't for that, you could visit London. You wouldn't even speak to an English person. Now, is that right? Is it right that we, as Englishmen, because the town I'm from in Luton, I'm a minority. Englishmen, the English community are a minority. Is that right? And if you look at the demographical change of how it's happening and how fast it's happening, and the problems that that's bringing with open border immigration, and as I said, none of it's a mistake. Literally, the boats come off the border at Libya. They're picked up by NGOs. The NGOs are funded by the European Union, usually the German government. They're literally transported to our country. They make their way through with all these different NGOs. No one's trying to stop them. The boats at the minute coming into the UK, there's no attempt to stop them. They get to the UK, they then get taken with Serco government contracts. They get taken to hotels where they're put in a hotel. We pay for it. Out of those hotels in the UK, which migrants are full of now in every town and city, out of those hotels, 25 children have been sexually assaulted and attacked. 9 women have been. They're the migrants living in the hotels that we've invited in, that our government have brought in. Now, our government's job, first and foremost, is to protect the British public. It's to protect our daughters. There is currently, I don't know if you're following what's happening, Michael, or your viewers are following what's happening in the UK. Britain is bordering on a revolution. Across this nation, there are protests every single day. We're about to hold a rally on the 13th of September. I expect 1 million people. I expect scenes that no European country has ever seen. Our capital is going to be there. People are coming from every corner of Britain to descend on our capital because we're losing our culture, we're losing our identity, and we've lost the safety of our women and children. And what's been going on for 2 decades? No, everyone's been too scared to talk about it. When I went to the Republic of Ireland to make my documentary, I knew that people wouldn't speak. So what I've done is I wore a button camera, and I've done an investigation where I went to Killarney, which is a beautiful Irish city. It's where Americans would go if they were traveling to visit Ireland. It's where the Canadians go. I went there and I walked through the streets because they've got all the hotels are full of Somalians, Pakistanis, and Afghanis. Yeah. So I went through the streets and spoke to women. Said, "Excuse me, what's it like here?" What's changed? And all the women said, we can't walk the streets. My friend, one mother said, I work there, I live there, my husband has to come and walk up and pick me up to walk me home. I said, but what did it used to be like? She said, we never had any problems like this. There's now walks every week. We can't walk the streets. All the women were saying exactly the same message. Then I would say to the women, okay, I'm a journalist from the UK. Let me just get my cameraman, come here. And all of the women would say, oh, no, I can't say that on camera. I can't say that on camera. So that attitude and that fear is what had governed and allowed this. But right now, I'm confident that the dam has burst. The women that were scared 2 years ago in the UK now are screaming every day. There's grassroots, organic, women-founded movements in towns and cities across the UK. Protests are going on. It's a beautiful sight for me to see because I've been trying to do this for 15 years. I've been talking. I formed an organisation in 2009 trying to warn Europe, trying to warn Britain. It was called the English Defence League. We had a bit of a reputation. We were full of young men who weren't going to back down. Yeah? We're not going to back down. Our country's at stake. You're not going to beat us into submission. We're not going to apologise for our identity.
Thank God Britain's got people like this in it.
Or being an Englishman, and gangs of Muslims tried to beat us off the streets. So for years there was clashes of us on the streets as this organisation. But back then I was warning. No one wanted to listen. No one wanted to accept it. No one wanted to understand the problems that this country is about to face. I wish they listened a decade ago. And right now, thankfully, I'm no longer banging my head against a brick wall. The public are listening. The amount of apologies I'm receiving every single day from I went on a podcast last week and the bloke's like, I've got to apologise. That's all I'm getting every day. Because I was deemed and I was slandered and I was attacked. And everything I said was true. Everything I was warning about is what's happening. And all we want, I'm not saying I want to deport every migrant. I'm not saying I don't want any Muslims in the UK. What I'm saying is there has been a liberty taken with our towns and cities. Liberties have been taken and the politicians have betrayed us. And I've always said, when the public understands, when the public sit back, and what you had for 4 years under Biden, we've had for 30 years. And I don't think America quite get, right? When I hear Americans used to moan about Hispanic immigration, I just think, God, you have no idea yet. I wish we had Mexican immigration. Because I'm from a town, everyone's the sons of immigrants in Luton. We're all the sons of immigrants. My friends line us up, St. Lucian, Jamaican, Bulgarian, Italian, all of us. My mum's Irish. We're all the sons of immigrants. It pretty much works, yeah? Pretty much. There's problems, obviously, some, but what doesn't work is Islam. The Islamic community do not integrate or assimilate. It's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different machine. So for the last 4 years, Joe Biden's been flooding you with Islamic immigration. I'm starting to see the videos now coming out from certain cities in the United States. I don't think anyone quite understands what comes when the Islamic community become a powerful demographic. And when they become a voting bloc, if you've got your major cities or your swing states, when the Muslim community can decide that vote, when they flood the area, because they vote in a military fashion. So even growing up in Luton, as white working class, we're irrelevant because the local Labour Party, the Democratic Party, just do a deal with the leader of the local council of mosques. So if they've got 45 mosques, the local political party just sit down and come to an agreement, and that guarantees them 60,000 votes. And Muslims vote like a military. And at that point, we're irrelevant. So I've watched the decay. I've watched it all. I've seen it. I've lived it. I'm not talking about things I've read about. I have lived it. I had a cousin who was victim of these gangs. She woke up getting ganged by Muslim men. She ran naked through the streets, and the police done nothing. And I know this sounds unbelievable. People really, if you're going to go down the rabbit hole, if you're listening to me now in the United States, you need to go down this rabbit hole. Look at the jihad this country has faced. Again, if I can just give you some statistics, Michael, so that people can understand the scale of the problem. In one town called Rotherham, the police identified 1,400 victims that have been by Muslim gangs. That town has a 3.7% Muslim population. 1,400 children been that's over a 16-year period. But when the study came out and the investigation, because finally by 2014, there was an in-depth government investigation. They had to do it in the end, yeah? After I was in prison at the time for trying to uncover it. So I was in prison at the time. They'd done a study. What they found is that and this is going to sound unbelievable, Two dads, their 13-year-old daughters are being raped in a house by 6 Muslim men. The fathers got together. They went to the house to get their daughters back. The police turned up. They arrested the dads. They left the girls in the house. This is going to sound unbelievable. Another girl's father rang 999 200 times. He rang the emergency services for help 200 times.
Yep.
Another little girl, she was 12 years old. They took her. They got a hot iron rod.
It's Allah versus God in the Middle East. It's Allah versus God, and God's kicking their butt.
They heated it up with the letter M, and they scolded her bum because she was the property of Muhammad. Another little girl, they took her tongue and they nailed it to the table. And all whilst this torture, this barbaric, satanic was going on in every town and city the whole time. The police knew. The religious leaders knew. The council knew. They all covered it up. It's not just a cover up in one city. We now know 85 cities it was covered up in. Again, so people can understand the scale of the problem, I've done a 5-part documentary series called The Rape of Britain in a town called Telford. I went and spent 18 months in that town, and I sat down with survivors of these gangs. And I sat down, I interviewed them for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I interviewed them 2 times, 3 times. I built a database, like a police investigation. In the end, I knew every Muslim name, every family, every business. I got together 264 names of the rapists. I made it into a 5-part series. I'm about to do my next episode soon. It's called The Rape of Britain. Again, it's the best investigative work. We go after the gangs. Each episode tells a different girl's story. In episode 1, we told the story of a 13-year-old child who was raped by a Muslim man, lots of Muslim men. He impregnated her. He was 23. They got the fetus, 100% DNA match for the rapist. He faced no further action. In this town, the police identified 1,000 victims. 5 of them were murdered in this town. 5. This town has a 1.7% Muslim population. So out of a 1.7% Muslim population, there was 1,000 victims. The police identified 200 Muslim rapists. There's only 1,000 Muslim.
And that's why the modest man won't get into heaven. You can't get into heaven unless you believe in Jesus.
Men in that town. 20% of the men were raping the kids. 20%. And
Hey, Baz, good to see you, mate.
Now identified 200 men. They prosecuted 11. So 189 weren't prosecuted. And this story that I'm talking to you about is in every town and city. This is the darkest stain on British history ever. We have allowed an invading army to come into our country and beat their way through it. And whilst doing it, we've attacked.
He's completely right. Everything he's saying is completely true.
Anyone who spoke out against it. And we've treated the children like criminals. There was a derelict house, like an abandoned home. And these are in government reports. The police turned up. 6 Muslim men had a 12-year-old girl, abusing and raping her. They arrested the little girl for being drunk and disorderly. They arrested the little girl. So I'm going on one now because I've spent years meeting families, trying to uncover these crimes. Finally now, especially thanks to Elon Musk, the world is aware of what's happened to a generation of Britain's children. The world is aware. But again, you know what? They called these gangs Asian. They didn't call them Muslim gangs, they were called Asian. Muslims make up 5% of the UK population. Okay, 5%. 90% of the convictions for male groups who rape children have been Muslim. Of the convictions, 30% of the men convicted are called Muhammad. These are conversations. Obviously, this is a taboo subject. It's a politically correct. People get scared of it. I was having these conversations 15 years ago trying to say, listen, our kids are being raped. Only now that people realise he was right. Everything they said was true. Children were sacrificed. The children were pimped. Well, and that is, if people want to understand the power that political correctness can have, our entire police force across the entire nation stood by and let it happen because they were more scared. What was deemed worse was to be called racist than to deal with this problem. Like that level, that sounds insane, no? That is the cloud and the dark cloud that has been over the whole of Europe. People have been too scared, but what we're currently seeing now, there's an uprising happening. We have been betrayed. People know we've been betrayed. They can see the problem. They can see that criminals are being invited in, pissed, murderers, terrorists are being brought into our nation. No one knows who they are. No background checks. And then they're being spread out across the whole country. And week in, week out, British women are falling victims of these men.
Lobo, watch that decode of The Wizard of Oz. You'll see God in all the way through it. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
And as I said, it worked for so long.
Which means God still communicates with us. That proves it. You can watch 5 minutes of it and debunk it, but at least give it a go.
People were silenced. People were scared. Not anymore. As I said, America, keep your eyes on our capital city on the 13th of September. The Great British Revolt is underway.
Dad, look. Here's my spicy citrus maple syrup.
Oh my God.
Get this, get this, get this.
Dad, cream.
We do insurance now. It's pretty straightforward. And you can get a quote in just 3 minutes.
You'll never catch her.
Virus, come back, come back.
Well, Tommy, I can tell you this, you know.
Lobo's not a Christian. He's asking genuine questions. I think he genuinely wants to know.
It seems that the United
He loves the Jews, so that's a good start.
Kingdom and America are so closely tied together. If we would have gotten another 4 years of a Biden, Kamala Harris administration, our country would have been done.
Yep.
The only way we would have reversed it would have been with a revolution. It was the only way we were going to do it. But, you know, I have a lot of questions. But one thing, you know, this has happened in the UK. It's happened in Canada, happened in the United States. Is there, in your view, some kind of force behind this that's causing this to happen in all of these countries? The same exact thing with this immigration, flooding the borders, crime going rampant, people standing up for the perpetrators.
Yeah, I was never here. With Israel, I know there's Zionists in them. I just pray for them on behalf of God and let God sort them out, because I can't tell who's a villain and who's not. If they're Jewish, I know we're supposed to bless them, but so I bless a lot of them and I'll let God sort them out.
Rather than the victims, to me, it's demonic. I believe it's demonic. There's something crazy going on here with people. And to me, I've always said this is demonic, without a doubt.
100%. And there's been a planned and orchestrated attack on Christianity. They've weakened Christianity. They've took our family values. They've weakened men. They've feminized men. They've broke down our community spirit. They want us isolated. They want us in different little groups. The last thing they want is unity, which is why we've actually called this organization Unite the Kingdom, because we're going to unify this country against them. We are unifying every community against them, and people are waking up. So yes, I think that it's all planned, because as they weaken our community spirit, as they break down the nation.
They just had a 400,000 march, United, what he just talked about. They just had 400,000 march on the streets. United Kingdom, was it?
Mistake. The European Union's goal is to break down the identity of each country. How do you break down the identity of each country? You flood it with many different cultures. You tell all the cultures they're equal. You break down, you teach the children to be ashamed and embarrassed of who they are, of where they come from. You teach them everything they give. You break the mum and dad. You make the mum work every hour of the day. You make sure that the education system that you're in control of that is poisoning the minds of the next generation. You make sure that our education system is indoctrinating their children. The whole transgenderism issue now. My son went to a school that's 10 minutes down that road. 360 pupils in the year, 60 pupils are transgender. 60.
When I was a kid, we didn't even have any homosexual kids. There just wasn't when I was a kid.
There is an epidemic.
So it's a taught thing.
Going on. Because whilst parents are at work, both of them, all day, children are in morning clubs, after school clubs, who's bringing their kids up? Probably TikTok. Poisoning their minds, but also an education system that encourages this nonsense. In fact, every ideology that wishes to destroy everything that's great about this country, whether it be Marxism, whether it be communism, whether it was Black Lives Matter movement, whether it's Islam, our politicians bend their knee. They bow to it. The absolute sheer cowardice in leadership. if Donald Trump didn't get elected, not just that, if Elon Musk did not buy X, what you currently see it as in a mass awakening. You're seeing the Swedish debt. You saw the AFD got 21% of the vote. Vox today in the polling are leading. Le Pen is leading. Nigel Farage, the Reform Party in the UK, is leading. All the populist parties, say populist, all the anti-immigration parties, concentrate on borders, culture, identity. Yeah? They're all now the biggest parties in Europe. They are the future leaders. But if Elon Musk didn't buy X, none of that would be happening. Because literally, Mike, I don't know if you're aware, I was totally deplatformed and censored from every social media. If you would have wrote my name on Facebook, you would get deleted. They made me a figure of hate. Never tried, never convicted, never arrested on racism or extremism, never charged or convicted by a jury of my peers. But the establishment and big tech conspired together, as they done in the United States. Once Donald Trump won the election in 2016, they realised they lost power. Right then, they took back power using big tech through censorship of conservatives, censorship of Republicans. At the same time they were doing that in the United States, they deleted me. I was erased. I was unpersoned. I had no social media. I got deleted from YouTube, from Facebook, from Snapchat. Every single one of them, I was not allowed. I was blocked. Even if you mentioned me, you got blocked. As I said, that was at a time when they were regaining power.
They're letting him out now. They're not blocking him on YouTube now because the things are blowing his way. The wind's blowing his way.
If it wasn't for,
I used to play him before and then delete it at the end because they did do a community strike on you.
Donald Trump's election and Elon Musk, the awakening that's currently happening, not just in Britain, across Europe, but Britain's leading it now. I guarantee you that the scenes that are going to come out of London on September 13th are going to inspire Europe. They're going to inspire Western men because we need to remember who we are. I keep saying to Britain, I've heard so long growing up when the British lion awakes, when it wakens, when it rises, yeah. And I've been thinking, is it ever going to rise? 26 kids blown up at the Ariana Grande concert, nothing. A soldier beheaded. London Bridge terrorist attacks, women getting stabbed in the front. Everything that's going on, the Black Camp Theatre, when they massacred, they cut people's tits off. It's attacks of jihad across the whole of Europe. I kept asking, what's it going to take? And right now, as I said, I'm confident that line's awakening. And I'm confident that for too long, they want to dictate who we are. There has been severe provocation in the last 48 hours in the UK to provoke the public to violence. After the Southport attack, where 3 little girls.
I think the woke agenda's on its way out. Trump's put a stop to that. Everyone's starting to get sick of them.
Were butchered and 7 others were stabbed. After that attack, the government politicised the judiciary. They're doing it again now. Within 48 hours, they arrested British protesters at hotels. There was a woman called Lucy Connolly, a mother. She put a statement on Twitter. She deleted it after 2 hours. She got sentenced to 31 months in jail. So they locked up hundreds of people, and they'd done this. Peter Lynch was a grandfather. He was demonstrating because the British public had had enough. In these hotels, men are leaving the hotels and they're committing terrorist attacks, and they're living amongst us. One story: a asylum seeker come to the UK to a city called Bournemouth. Yeah? He comes to the UK. He goes to school. Says he's 15. Yeah? There was problems with him at school, girls and being aggressive. When he's then 19, he then goes on to stab an English boy to death in the city centre. They then find out he wasn't 19, he was 25. So when they put him in school at 15, he was actually 20. Yeah? Then they find out on his way to the UK, he shot 2 people dead with a machine gun in Serbia. This is someone, and he's then in school. So he's shooting people dead, 20 years old. They put him in school next to our daughters. That's one story. This story is mirrored across our nation, across our country. This is what's happening. We are being invaded, and every time anyone tried to talk about it again, but what's currently happening now is there's a mass uprising, and this used to be a lonely place. To have these conversations we're having now was impossible. It was just impossible. The open window is shifted so much. What's acceptable, what's palatable to the...
Dolly, I'll check that link out later on.
discuss. The term mass deportations is now part of British vocabulary. Two-tier policing is part of British vocabulary. Everything I knew, everything I've seen, two-tier policing, because growing up in a town like Luton, the non-Muslim community, it's not the white community, because the whites and the blacks are crushed. And the whites and the blacks are like this together. Yeah? And always have been in the town I've been brought up in. There's no racial problems. Everything's religious. But we are crushed. We are treated by our police force with iron fists. The Islamic community, they're treated with kid gloves. Literally, they are paid.
Lobo, I bet you haven't even read the Bible. I'd put $100 on it that you haven't even read the Bible.
And the government give them everything. And right now, the public are awake to it. As I said, there's a tidal wave of patriotism that's sweeping this country. It can't be stopped. As I'm watching, I don't know if you've seen Raise the Flags, where there's not one single place you can drive now. Bear in mind, a month ago, you could drive from one end of Britain to the other. You will not see a British flag or an English flag. Not one.
They mentioned Australia. I hope we're not going to be another test case for them, Di.
You could drive the whole way through our country. It's not like the United States. You could drive the whole way through our country. You will not see one. Now, you can't drive from one road to the next road without seeing one. I'd say 1 million flags afloat in the last three weeks. There is something monumental.
Well, that's not very intelligent of you. Why waste your time? But you're here criticising it and you haven't even read it. What? How do you work that out, Lobo? You haven't even read it, but you're here bagging it. What an ignoramus.
Mental currently happening. A shift that I can't even explain how quick, how fast, how much is happening. So, as I said, and I'll be proven by this when you see the scenes on 13th of September. The British public are going to come together. They're going to send a message to the establishment. We're not sitting quietly by while you demographically replace us. You're not replacing us. As an Englishman, I'm not coming.
Where is Jesus now? In every Christian's heart. That's where he is. And we know it.
Becoming a minority in my country, so you can flood it with hostile men. Not anymore. Not without a battle. We will battle you. There is going to be a mass battle where you're not taking our free speech. For too long you've imprisoned us. For too long you've attacked us. For too long you've silenced us. For too long you've cancelled us. Not anymore.
Well, I tell you, Lobo, you're just going to mock it. You haven't even read the Bible, so whatever we say is going to go over your head anyway, because you're so sure it's a Harry Potter story.
People are not afraid anymore. The government, as I said, they locked up mothers. They locked up mothers for saying things on social media. That was supposed to strike fear of God into the British mums. Instead, it's lit a fire in the belly of British mums. British mums are coming in there, hundreds of thousands to our capital next week. Also, they put me on solitary confinement. That was meant to mentally break me, and it was meant to deter me and deter others. That hasn't happened. We've come straight out of custody three months ago, fighting, ready, full steam ahead. We started exactly where we left off. In the last 24 months, we had a vision. I sat down, I don't know if you know Katie Hopkins, Calvin Robertson, Lawrence, some of the biggest media
I feel good to see you, mate.
Personalities or freedom fighters in the UK. We got 20 of us together and said, the British culture is under attack. We're losing our country. Yeah? And that, you know the way you felt under Joe Biden? We'll accelerate that 10 times. Yeah, we've lost. We're losing. We're worried. We're scared. So we sat down, we brought lots of minds together and said, let's agree. Let's not focus on what we disagree on. Because when you bring a lot of personalities together, we will disagree on things. What can we agree on? Defending British culture, defending free speech, ending the stigmatization of children, ending these rape gangs, confronting them. Yeah, we can agree on this. How do we do that? And we said, if you can shift the culture, you'll shift the politics. So we started a cultural movement. And the idea was that we bring all of us together, TikTokers, YouTubers, we come to an agreement because their biggest weapon was propaganda. Their biggest weapon was the media. Well, now we're back.
Why doesn't Jesus appear to everyone? Well, not many ask to see him, do they? Have you asked to see Jesus? How do you expect to see Jesus when you haven't asked him to come into your life?
We're on social media. Yeah? We're taking over. We are the media now. So when we bring all of us together, if we work together, we can press one button and reach the entire country. We can reach the youth. We can reach every demographic. So we had this vision. And the vision was to hold rallies to celebrate identity. Our first one on the 1st of June, we had 30,000 people. Then on the 27th of July, we had 100,000 people. That's never been seen. 100,000 patriots coming together from all across the UK. And the best thing about it, we policed ourselves. You know what you had on January 6th? Well, we have an organisation called the Special Demonstration Squad. Google it. Yeah, this is a government organisation that for years and in history infiltrate legitimate protest movements, and they infiltrate and they provoke violence. When I led an organisation for 5 years, holding mass rallies, I learned so much. I saw the government infiltrators, I saw the police infiltrators, I saw how they operate. They cover themselves from head to bottom. So in our rallies that we've started now, because I've done my apprenticeship, I know what you do. You're not going to do it to us. So in those meetings, we said no one can cover a face on our demonstrations. No one, because if you can let them cover their faces, it gives the ability for.
Lobo, how come it's the West that is built well? How come the West has got all the infrastructure and all the wealth? Because we follow Judeo-Christian values. So there is benefits following Christ. Look at the West. We're wealthy because of him.
Infiltrators on behalf of the government to come in. When the riots went on, after the Southport riots, look at who was burning buildings. They're wearing all black totally. It's the government, it's the police, I'm telling you. The same way they tried to bullshit a whole of America on January 6th. They set it up with the FBI.
There's no shame in getting on. If you've been independent your whole life, it's so hard to ask for help. Take the first step and it'll be a lot easier.
To be loved and cared for, and then to love and to care so deeply. I think that's the essence of being human.
The most important thing in life is love and caring for each other in a place like this.
Come on, Eds.
Go forth and ask the great engine of search for the meat key! Yeah!
What is an engine of search?
I don't know! Imagine the possibility of selling beyond expectations. Harcourts, we make it possible.
Oh, enough of the ads. Jeez.
Exactly that. I know how they operate. So to prevent that, we don't allow face coverings and we police ourselves. And we are a working class group of men. There's some tough men. The toughest men in the UK have come together. And we won't allow aggression. So we wanted to win the hearts and minds of the British public. We went from 30,000 to 100,000 to 200,000. Watch what we pull off on the 13th of September. Yeah? And that unity and the ability to police ourselves is what is putting fear into the government. On the 28th of July, after our second event, when we had 100,000 people, I was detained under the Terrorism Act, Michael. I faced prison in 4 weeks for Terrorism Act because I was detained after our event. And again, if you want to talk about free speech, I've got Keir Starmer sitting in the Oval Office lying to President Trump and J.D. Vance, talking about free speech. I was held under terrorism legislation. Even when they sat me down, they said, "We know you're not a terrorist, Tommy, but this legislation allows us to do this." Now, when you enter through a border in Britain or in Europe, you have no right to remain silent. So I was interviewed for 6 hours. And if I wouldn't have answered their questions, I am prosecuted instantly on terrorism. So I answered their questions. Everyone in their questions were about my legitimate lawful actions. I'm a journalist. I'm an investigative journalist. I investigate government. I investigate police. I've exposed corrupt police officers. I've exposed corrupt journalists. I've exposed corrupt NGO organisations. So they wanted to know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Yeah? Asked me all the questions. Then they wanted access to this. I said, no, I'm a journalist. They're my sources of information. They're protected from me. Yeah? For that, I now face prison. I was charged under the Terrorism Act because I refused. Now, it's like the Patriots Act. They allow the problem so bad. Terrorism, chaos, disorder, and then they bring in the solution. But when they bring in the solution to deal with jihadists and terrorists, they then turn that weapon on us, the people trying to expose it and talk about it. So we've seen, as I said, you, the United States, hold on to your constitution, hold on to your guns. You are the only place in the world that has free speech. I wish we had free speech. I dream about being...
Lobo, that link I just posted about the Wizard of Oz, watch the first 10 minutes, and if you're not hooked by then, come back and let us know.
Free to talk. We're not free. People are being arrested every day for their speech in the UK. They're not just being arrested, they're being imprisoned daily for their speech. for legitimate, legal, lawful, factual speech in prison. So,
And Tommy, what are they? Because I understand that you can make a social media post that's anti, establishment at this point in time, and they can lock you up for that. As a matter of fact, people were telling me, Michael, don't come to the UK because some of the things that you've been saying, on social media can get you locked up in Britain. How do they justify that? Is it a law? Are they just doing it on their own? How do they justify locking people up for being anti-establishment in some way?
What they did after the Southport riots, this is why I say they politicised the judiciary and they politicised the media, the courts, all of it, yeah? So there were protests, like Lucy Connolly, she wrote a Facebook post. They arrested her, they refused everyone bail. So you weren't allowed out on bail, they just put them all straight in jail. And then they put pressure on them to plead guilty. So if you want to get out, you're going to wait a year for your court trial. If you want to get out, plead guilty. So no one got bail. So some people, one man went to jail for shouting, Allah, Allah, who the fuck is Allah? He got 18 months in prison. Another man shouted at the police, you're not English anymore. He was sent to prison. Now, these stories sound unbelievable, but that's what they did. And they politicised everything. As I said, I went outside a court case, 2018. There were 30 Muslim men on trial for young children. And this blew up. This is what blew my profile up, first of all. I went outside the court case, and I stood outside the court case, and I explained to the British public that when they had to deal with the grooming gangs, because they had to, they couldn't hide it anymore, because 10,000 Englishmen were charging through the streets with signs saying our daughters are not allowed. The world's media were looking at us. Yeah? We were highlighting all these problems. So when they had to deal with it, the first couple of court cases for the gangs, like the English Defence League forms in 2009. So if you draw a graph, that's the organisation we formed. So if you draw a graph, arrests for Muslim Pakistani gangs, there's a straight line. EDL forms 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. Just one, the graph goes straight up. That's when the police had to start making arrests. They realised, we can't hide this anymore. Yeah? There's going to be war. There's going to be riots. The country's going to descend into anarchy because the English are now rising up and they're not allowing it anymore. So they had to deal with it. So then they started making arrests. And in the first couple of trials, that's where we got the little girl being burned with the iron rod, the little girl with a nail through the tongue. We got all the facts because for a 6-week trial, the media was sitting in trial, listening to what they were.
A little girl and a nail through her tongue. Can you imagine the cruelty of that?
Calling the girls dirty white slags, dirty gullah. All the comments were about them being infidel and dirty kuffar. They were religious and racially motivated rapes. So we got all the facts. That's the last thing they did. So what they did after that, every Muslim trial now, every Muslim gang trial, they put reporting restrictions. Now this will seem alien to the United States because you have a free press. So on the trial that I was reporting on, they put a reporting restriction on all of them. What that means is for the 6-week trial, the media are banned from talking about it. Then at the end of the trial, when the men are convicted, you get 1 day's news. Yeah. So rather than finding out all the details every day for weeks and having reporters report every day on the cases, at the end of the 6 weeks, you get 1 day's news. 30 men convicted. You'll get, and it will make the media for that 1 day. Yeah? So I went outside the court, and under the court laws, under the judiciary rules, the judge has no power to put a reporting restriction on information that's already in the public domain. So I knew this. So all I reported was the facts of how many men have been charged. I knew lots of things about the case. I didn't say anything else. As I was outside court, the judge looked out the top window. He sent the police officers out. I was arrested. People look this up. I was arrested. I was brought before the judge. He gave me 13 months in prison. I went to work that day. I got 13 months in prison. I was taken straight into the prison. I was put on solitary confinement for 3 months. It took 3 months and £70,000 before we could get in front of a judge. And when the next judge looked at it, he saw that everything they'd done was unlawful. Now, in this period, 3 months, a Free Tommy movement had built, which blew my profile up. Again, Donald Trump at the time got Brownback, the ambassador, to put pressure on the British government. Donald Trump Jr. spoke up for me. Many Americans spoke up for me. I've been in a lucky position that the United States and many in the United States have given me a lot of vocal support in the struggle that we've had. Again, and I'm very grateful for it. Because Americans can't understand how can journalists get 30 months. What they done? They let them just go home. Yeah. One that he's got his suitcase and went.
Hey, freelance, welcome to the channel.
He's never ever faced justice. So these are the crimes that are going on. This is the length that they've been trying to hide it for, and this is spread. And these same crimes are mirrored across the whole of Europe. And I don't think anyone can quite understand how quick the demographical change can happen. So when you see my hometown, it's gone, it's finished. That will never be an English town again. Never. The Islamic demographic and the change.
No, Jesus doesn't promise a good life. He promises a very, very complicated life.
In the growth in the community in our country and the Islamic ghettos across the country, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. It's a problem that we really need to wake up to.
Tommy, I want to tell you this. My sister-in-law recently spent about six months in the United Kingdom, mostly in Manchester, because her son is a soccer player, and he was in training there. And what she said to me, she said, Michael, you can't walk. The Islamic presence is so prevalent here. Everywhere you go, it's Islam, Islam, Islam. And I want to ask you this, and I hate to paint everybody with one brush, but I got to ask you this. These series of that are going on that seem to be so prevalent over the years, is there a correlation between
Amen,
the Islamic
Shorty.
population coming in and all of these women being?
2003, 8,000 British women in that year. 2023, 80,000. Yeah, 80,000. I've literally can draw a graph, Michael. I've done it for Sweden as well. So Sweden, Islamic immigration starts here. The graph follows the numbers of Islamic immigration. It just matches it perfectly. So as I said, 90% of the convictions are Muslim men. 90%. Yeah, and this is across the whole of Europe. So what you have to understand is, say, look, Afghanistan. 99% of the Muslims in Afghanistan, Pew Research, want Sharia law. So when those Muslims leave Afghanistan and they come to the UK, they don't leave those views on the border. They bring them with them. They have that intolerant, barbaric mindset, and now they're in the UK. Literally, you can have a preacher in a cave in Afghanistan one day, and then he's standing next to me in a bank in Luton the next day. It's a problem.
He's right. Wow, he's dead set right there.
Afghanis are 22 times more likely. 22 times more likely to be prosecuted than British nationality. 22 times more likely. So when you see that, why are our governments still importing Afghanis? Why are we still jeopardising British children across this country? Like even the Pakistani community, if we look at the Pakistani.
Nah, Shawnee, we don't ban people unless they be purposely blasphemous. I think Lobo, he's not a Christian. He's got genuine questions. He's being a smart ass, but his questions are genuine, I think, anyway.
Pakistani community. So these are all problems that come from the Islamic community. Pakistanis make up 3% of the UK. 33% of child defects in birth. 76% of the Pakistanis, 76% in Bradford. Bradford's a Muslim city. We've got lots of Muslim cities now. But Bradford's a Muslim city. 76% of them are married to their first cousins. The cost on our country. There are 40,000 Muslims on a terror watch list in the UK. 40,000. We've only got 70,000 British Armed Forces. 40,000 on terror watch list. To monitor 3,000, because the top 3,000 are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. £9 billion a year. £9 billion a year. 66% British Muslims would not report on another Muslim that was going to fight for ISIS. We've got a problem, right? Amen. Do you know? So Muslims have been in the UK, what, 40, 50 years? In those 40, 50 years, in that 40, 50 year period, and then we had ISIS, the caliphate in Syria, for a 3-year period. But in the 3-year period, 4 times more Muslims joined ISIS than have ever signed up for the British military. So a 40-year period, compared to a 3-year period, 4 times more Muslims joined ISIS than joined the British military. And it's like, I'm the hate figure, apparently. I'm the problem. Because I'm looking at all this, and I'm only looking at it, so you understand, Michael, growing up in Luton, Luton was named by the CIA as the epicenter for terrorist activity in Europe. The Fahrenheit bomber, the Stockholm bomber, the Q, the main Al Qaeda operative, so a dozen Muslims have probably been killed fighting for ISIS. Yeah, from my hometown. Some I went to school with. So I've seen it.
No, don't hide him. Lobo's allowed to ask questions. He's not being blasphemous. He's not being insulting. He's been a bit of a smart aleck, but that's harmless.
That Al-Mazruddin, Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, some of the world's most feared Muslims, that group's head office was in my town. Their head office was in my town. Yeah? So 60% of the Muslims in British prisons are ex-men.
Lobo, in your mind's heart, ask to meet him. Ask, is he true? Ask him to appear. He won't. He might not show up straight away, but he will come to you over the next few weeks. Just ask him to show up. Ask him, is he real? And he'll show himself if you're genuine.
Members of that group. I know them. I grew up around this. So I understand it. So I start talking about things I understand. And I was shouted down by liberals who have no knowledge of this, who don't know what it's like to grow up in a town plagued by Islamic problems. They've never seen it. And again, just to make it clear, Michael, because we can talk about this. Andrew Tate's a Muslim, yeah? Some of the best people I met growing up are Muslim. I'm not saying every individual Muslim is a problem, because those Muslims that I have friendships with don't follow Islam. They treat it like a buffet. They take the good bits that they like and they ignore the bad bits. The problem for them, the bad bits are the problem. Yeah? And just like when we was at war with Nazi Germany, there's probably lots of nice Germans as well. Yeah? But the nice Germans were irrelevant because of the destruction that the Nazi ideology was committing. 45 countries. There's never once in history has Islam peacefully coexisted. Never once. There's not one successful story where Islam has come into a country as a minority and successfully been there. It's always launched war in the end and took over 45 nations. Whichever country you want to look at used to be Christian. And I look along, what's it like for the Christians in Pakistan? What's happening now in Nigeria? They're being massacred. What's it like for the Christians in Afghanistan? What's it like right now in Syria? We're being massacred, persecuted, targeted, obliterated, pillaged. And then, why does anyone think? What sort of clown thinks anything different? It's the same Islam. It's the same Islam in the Middle East. It's the same Qatari-funded Islam or Saudi-funded Islam that's in Europe. It's no different. It doesn't change. So it's like they're willing to play this experiment with the futures of our nation. There's 1,000 years of Christian English history. We've nearly sacrificed that in 60 years to an experiment by the United Nations, by the World Economic Forum, by the flooding of our country, by the destabilizing of our communities, the destruction of the most successful, beautiful culture that gives the world everything. And we've sacrificed it. And right now, British people are scared. Our women are scared. We can visually see what's happened. Whereas before, it used to be confined to towns like mine. People didn't really care. We're a rough town, full of poor people. Yeah? That's not a problem. Now the problem spreads. It's not just that. It's not our problem anymore. People can see it. So again, and I know it's a...
Lobo, he said, why did Jesus, as he was a Jew, let that happen to the Jews? I don't hear he's protesting the crucifixion. How come that happened by the Jews?
Difficult conversation because we've got 4 million Muslims. What do we do? What do we do? I'll tell you what we don't do. We don't change our country. We don't surrender.
They don't get jobs either. They go straight on the dole. That's what they do here when they come here.
Don't hold up a white flag. We stand up for Britain, British culture, British identity, and British people.
Amen.
First and foremost, our government and our politicians, this week there was a decision in a hotel in Epping. So you understand Epping. You've got East London. East London's now majority Muslim. Man. So most of the English have left East London and they've moved like this to an area called Essex. So all the people who fled the problems, the hostility, they're living in a nice community, English community, called Epping. The government and the Home Office decided to stick 200 migrants. They don't know who they are, don't know anything about them. They could be jihadists, they could be Hamas, could be ISIS, could be terrorists, could be... Well, they stick them all in this community. Yeah? A 14-year-old girl's walking to school. One of the migrants leaves the school, leaves the hotel, and she books her, grabs her, says what's up with her, and he attacks her.
Oh, yeah, that's my dog. He's got a collapsing esophagus, so she coughs a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a laugh, she's actually coughing.
The local community started protesting.
Jump.
Whilst they're protesting over it, this is all in the last month.
Come on.
All the women around, all the families around. The government, of course, call them far right, even though it's just a community. They're called far right. They're called racist. But they're out demanding safety. And this is the start,
Yeah.
of what sprung. You can see the protest.
Yeah, he did, Shawnee.
See it all now across the country. As they've come out, and
What if you could better understand your spending with smart analytics, like bill reminders and budget alerts? See more, save more.
Whatever your project at Kennards High, we've got a customer service structure built for major infrastructure.
a migrant then goes into an old woman's home, lets himself in. The old woman's daughter chases him out. She gets arrested, not him. She's been prosecuted, not him. This is all happening there. Then someone goes and films around the back of the hotel, and the Muslim lad at the hotel is watching videos of beheadings. So you can imagine what this little, nice, secluded English area. Their daughters can't walk to school. Where the hotel is where the kids walk to school, and there's woods there. Everyone's scared. So as this is going on, it goes to court, and the judge rules that the government need to move the migrants out of the hotel. The government appealed the decision this week. They went to the High Court, and in court, the government's lawyer said that the rights of the migrants supersede the rights of the British local community to feel safe. They have forced...
How are you going to win against that, Tommy? It's ingrained. How are you going to beat them? I think it's too late for the UK at the moment. They'd have to go full-on civil war to get rid of them.
The 200 men are staying there. So imagine these mums and these kids and these children. 1 minute it's safe, and you can mirror this to every town and city. It's happened. You can mirror this. Yeah? This is what's happening. And as I say, I know it may sound, some people might think you're exaggerating. I truly believe that something historic is happening. A rebellion is building. A revolution is brewing. The people who are attending our demonstrations now would never have dreamed of standing with us. They wouldn't. I've got so many people saying, if you'd have told me 2 years ago, I'm going on Tommy Robinson event, I never would have been.
See, Lobo, why would Jesus show up to you? You just mock him. Why would he show up? He's not a stalker. He won't stalk you. It's up to you to search for him. He's made it easy. He's told you how to do it.
What helped that? The COVID lies, the vaccine, all these different lies, and the betrayal, and the blatant lies by the government, by the police, by the councils, by the media. People have seen it all now. They don't trust them all. So right now, as I said, Britain is rising up, and we somehow, there's so much anger. We somehow need to harness anger. We need to organise it and control it, which is a pretty big mission. Because I'm telling you see the anger they've got, that Britain's got. It's justified. You've destroyed our country. It's like you had Joe Biden for another 6 years. Imagine how angry you'd be and upset you'd be as a crime. It's exactly what they're trying to do to America: defund the police, all these George Soros funded things to destabilise your towns and cities, to destabilise them. I actually think they want us destabilised. They want such a level of violence that in the end we're crying out for them.
Albert's book, he predicted World War III would be between the Muslims and the West. So it's right on track. If they're doing Albert Pike's manifesto.
To bring more law, more order, more digital IDs, more CCTV, more cameras. That's what people will be begging for. Because the level of violence is so out of control. It's so out of control. So this is all developing. As I said, I think that something historic is happening, and I'm excited. But the problem's that bad, boy.
And yesterday, someone ran amok in England on the trains and stabbed 11 people. So it's just getting worse.
I'm excited.
You know, Tommy, I tell you this, if I close my eyes and you were speaking with an American accent rather than British, I would think you were talking about my country. Exactly the same. I mean, just this morning, Trump had an agreement with...
All the people sleeping on the streets, where is he for them? Where are you? Have you helped them, Lobo? Have you helped them out? You're bagging Jesus, but have you done anything about it? No.
another country to send back several hundred children that were brought over here, for human trafficking purposes. The parents in the other country have agreed.
Lobo, Jesus doesn't promise an easy life. He promises a hard life, actually.
To take them back. The country agreed to take them back, and we had an activist leftist judge that blocked that. These are kids that are being returned to their parents that were human trafficked, and they blocked the return when the country and the parents are eagerly waiting for them. It's just insane what's going on. I don't think this crazy government realizes that you can only push people so far. I mean, it happened here. We elected Trump. It's happening in your country. Hopefully, the same thing. You can only push people so far. But I have to ask you this too. Andrew, who is Andrew Tate, dear friend of the both of us. I sat down with him and I said, Andrew, why this movement from Christianity to Islam?
Yeah, me too.
And he said to me, well, Michael, I noticed that people in the West that claim to be Christians don't really practice as Christians.
Lobo, where do the homeless turn to on the street? Isn't there a few Christian shelters and things like that? We've got Christian shelters in Sydney where it's run by Christians and people on the street can sleep in there.
They're more hypocrites. He said, but in Islam, they're more disciplined. And I found that to be, a preference for me. And I said, Andrew, since when do you judge a perfect God by imperfect people? I said, that's, and we got into the whole discussion that I won't talk about now, but you know what? There is a direct correlation. You hate to just.
Amen, Phil. Well said.
Stamp any, I'm not against Muslims. I'm not against Islam, but you got to be honest. I mean, there is something happening there in Britain that's quite obvious. And obviously we know the reason why and who's perpetrating these crimes. It's so horrible. And to think that people would actually stick up for the perpetrator of the crime rather than the victim is unbelievable. And it happens here in the United States. I can't even wrap my head around it. Hey, I was a future mob guy. I mean, a past mob guy said, and I can't wrap my head around the way these people think. We respected our women. We didn't do what these people. These people are insane. They're absolutely insane.
Do you know on the Tate conversion thing? Because I spoke to him and said, you messed up massively messed up. Yes. Remember, he had just been deplatformed, and I understand he was angry. Yeah? And I'd say the church in the UK, the Church of England, has been infiltrated by cultural Marxism. Yeah? I don't believe many of the priests even believe in Jesus. Yeah? I think they've used it for political terms. And what we've seen Christianity become, very different in the United States, is weak, feeble, pathetic. That's what we're seeing now is a revival in Christianity, masculine Christianity. If you look at the numbers, as I said, you can match what's happening now with the protests and the uprising. You can match it with the new figures attending church, with young men finding Christian identity. I saw something on the 1st of June. I watched as a man held up a sign that said Christ is King, and I watched the people cheering. Yeah, I thought, wow. And then I looked on, and then remember, whenever we told them,
wow, this is beautiful
demonstration, there'd be a counter protest to us. Yeah, the priests would always be on the counter protest, always on the counter protest, standing with the Muslim leadership, always, yeah, against us as the race.
Yeah, priests. What do you expect from a Catholic priest?
That's what the church always done that. Now we've got priests queuing up to speak at our events, queuing up. And I watched on the 27th of July as 100,000 people chanted Christ is King. I'm thinking, I don't know if 100,000 people here believe Christ is King, but because of, and when you take away a culture and you take away an identity, and you attack Christianity, which is what's happened, there's a void. Islam, whether it be Islam, Marxism, other ideologies will fill that void. That's what's happened. As Britons now look around, what built the most successful country on the planet? The Bible and Christianity. Whether you want to believe in Jesus or not, that is what made this country. It was not a world success. It didn't rule the world. It wasn't the country that all of these people around the globe want to come to because it was
No one's too evil to follow, Lobo. You ask to meet Christ, you'll show up and repent, and everything will work out.
An atheist nation. It was Christianity that built it. So even if you believe in look at the Christian way of life, the Christian culture, the 10 Commandments, that is what we need to come back to. And I think, and I believe truthfully, we are searching again, and people are finding their identity again in Christianity. So not only do I believe there's a huge revolution brewing, there's a Christian revival happening. Something which, and I went to church, and
we knew that, guys. We knew there was a big revival coming.
I struggled a lot of the time with my belief. And I went in prison. I had a great pastor in prison. But I spoke to him about the same and said what I'm witnessing. And he said, churches. And then when I come out, I looked at statistics. I think Jordan Peterson gives them as well. Young men are going back to church. And we need to look at who we are, where we come from, refine our identity. What is our identity? We're Christians. Britain is a Christian nation. And for the last 20 years, people have been scared to say that. And the reason why I've been scared to say that is because there's been an organised attack on Christianity. And whereas Islam, if I was attacking Christianity and attacking Jesus, I'd be celebrated as an atheist. But then for some reason, this special protection. So I wouldn't be called a racist for attacking Christianity. But when you draw flaws and look at Muhammad and point out facts about Islam, all of a sudden,
come on, Mill, I'm picking you up every 2 minutes. Knock it off.
Violence and slanders are given as a protection from any legitimate criticism. The Labour Party, who are currently in government in my country, are trying to push through the Islamophobia bill. This Islamophobia bill would make it criminal. You know the conversation we've just had? I'll be in jail for stating the facts that I have stated. For giving the facts that I have stated about Islam and about gangs, I would be prosecuted and find myself in prison on hate speech laws for breaking Islamophobia laws. Now, obviously, many people have heard this said many times. A phobia is an irrational fear. The things I've spoken to you about, the things I've seen, what's happening to our country, does any of it sound irrational to fear what we're seeing? When you talked about Manchester earlier, after the terrorist attack in Manchester, the Ariana Grande concert, I went down and investigated Manchester. And I looked in, and they had a 25,000 Muslim population. 10 years later, they had a 50,000 Muslim population. 10 years later, they had 100,000 Muslim population. You see what's happening here? Every 10 years, it's doubling. Yeah. So another 10 years, there's 200,000. Another 10 years, city's gone. So that is how quickly it's happening. I put together, I wrote 4 books. I might as well plug them. And I've wrote 4.
Okay, Paris, a quarter of Paris is blocked off. It's a Muslim enclave, and it's dangerous to go there. A whole quarter of Paris is blocked off for the Muslims.
Books. I wrote 2 autobiographies. My first one was called Enemy of the State. Second one called Silent. I've also wrote a Quran called Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam. And I've wrote my most recent book called Manifesto. Now, in Manifesto, we go through the demographics and the numbers. By 2041, white, British are a minority. That's not long. Then, even if the solution to a lot of our problems is direct democracy, but not by 2041, because we'll lose. We're finished. Yeah? We're in a race against time. And do you know what's mad? This is the level of censorship and control. I wrote 4. All 4 of my books went to best-selling #1 books. Yeah? 3 of them are banned from Amazon. 3 of the books are banned. They're literally burning books. You could buy Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, in 20 different languages. But you can't buy mine, which is insane. There's nothing illegal, nothing unlawful, nothing untruthful or a book. And that is the level of censorship. Again, I want to thank the United States of America. I want to thank the American population that voted for Donald Trump, because when you voted him in, it wasn't to save America. I don't think people understand the scale of your election. It was to save the Western world. We still have a chance, and it's because of Donald Trump. If you see him putting the European Union in their place now, you see J.D. Vance putting Keir Starmer in his place about hacking the back end of these phones. You see the fact that we still have a chance of free speech because of that election. So we're very grateful to the United States of America. I'm very grateful to Elon Musk. I'm very grateful to Donald Trump. I think Elon Musk won't be remembered for putting things on Mars. He'll be remembered for saving freedom of speech. So that's where we're at.
No, I have to tell you, this has been such a refreshing conversation, because I think everything you've said is spot on. You know, I have to tell you, here in the United States, there is a Jesus revolution going on. Bibles are at an all-time high.
No, I'm not picking you up. Go away.
Men that are moving towards the Christian faith. Men trying to find their real purpose, and they're now leading the women, fortunately. But, you know, hopefully this is a movement that's happening in your country and hopefully all over the world. And I love what you said about, you know, America being founded on biblical, scriptural principles. This is a Christian nation, and it's a nation that everybody wants to come to because of that, because of our founders and the way this country has been operated up until now. But, you know, 2 years ago, if you were peacefully protesting by saying prayers outside of an abortion clinic, you got arrested. By being on your knees and saying prayers, you got arrested here. That's how far to the left we had gone for those years.
That's where we are. That's happening all the time here. Christian preachers are being arrested all the time. No Muslim preachers are being arrested. Muslims are calling for jihad. Terrorist groups calling for jihad against Israel. They don't get arrested. The Bible preachers get arrested. But as I said, what's happening in America is happening here. So I can sit here and do you know what? To the British, we just forget who we are. I said, we are the most fierce nation in the world. I know Americans probably like to think they are. We are. The British, it's in our DNA. It's in our DNA to fight. And when people realise that, when they realise who we come from, there's going to be an almighty problem in this country. Because people have said they're going to look to who lied to them. They're going to look to what they've done to this to our country, to the future for our kids. And again, every gentleman, I look at what we're doing, and I look at what previous generations done. And 15-year-old kids lied about their age in order to fight for Britain. An entire generation was willing to sacrifice their lives. What for? To hand down a safer and prosperous country to the next generation. And right now we've got a generation, we built a generation of cowards who are too scared to even speak, might lose my job, might get called a racist. Who gives a yeah? Our country's future is at risk. Amen. But right now, I say, built a generation of cowards, we just need them to wake up and realise who they are, where they come from, and their history, and the forefathers who went before us. And right now I can comfortably say, which is a good place to be, because usually you'd speak to, anyone I speak to is pretty depressing. People think, Jesus, Britain's in trouble. It is in trouble, but there's something huge happening. Something massive.
Tommy, let me ask you this. What exactly is happening on September 30th? I want my viewers to know.
It's September 13th, central London. We're holding a free speech festival. We've got lead politicians of the anti-immigration parties from Poland, from Denmark, from
No, are you talking about when they pray outside abortion clinics? They don't go near the doors, you know they don't, because that's illegal and they'll get arrested. So you're not being honest here, Lobo.
Belgium, from Germany, from France. We're bringing them all together.
And they're protesting murder. So what's wrong with that?
Jordan Peterson, I know he's been struck off as ill, but he's still hoping to make it. Ant Middleton, Katie Hopkins, Avi Yemeni, people come from all around the world. We're going to have a celebration of British identity in our capital city, and we're going to send a message to the establishment. We're going to send a message to the establishment that we're being silent no more, that Britain is awake. And you know, Keir Starmer, our communist tyrant leader, dictator, yeah, he was elected in on 9 million votes. 20 million people didn't vote. Do you know who those 20 million people are, Michael? They're us. They're forgotten, neglected British people who did believe in democracy. Well, our job now as a cultural movement is to electrify that 20 million people, to get into those communities, to give them their identity, to give them their purpose, give them belief again in who they are, and then direct it. And that's what we're going to send a message. It is David versus Goliath. For each one of these demonstrations, we took another step towards it.
Kirin Hieketsu, made from vodka, soda, and natural fruit juice. For a taste that's purely delicious. Born in Japan, now here in a can. Kirin Hieketsu. Hello, yes.
And on the 13th of September, the entire world, I guarantee the scenes that you see coming out of London are going to shock the world. It's going to be a revolt against the establishment, a revolt against mass immigration. We want remigration. We want to stay the majority in our country. It's our country. Where are we meant to go? Where are we meant to go? It's our country. It's not Afghanistan's country. It's not Pakistan's country. They can go home. That's their country. Where are we meant to go as we become minorities in all of our towns and cities? As we get subject to violence and hatred and hostility because we're what? Straight white Englishmen. Is that enough is enough. Enough is enough.
I agree, ban again. I think the only way they can take England back is with pistols and rifles. I think it's too late. The government sold everyone out.
And that message goes to all Western men, that we need to stand up, stop being cowards, because the next generation will never, ever forgive our generation for standing by and letting this happen. So I'm confident, and I've always wanted it to be in Britain. I remember watching the size of marches in Poland, then I watched Ireland, and I felt envious, and I felt jealous, and I wanted it to be Britain. And on the 30th of September, it's going to be Britain. All those European countries, all those people feel neglected, all of them feel scared. They're going to look at what we do, and hopefully we're going to inspire them. And I hope, as I said, we've got a lot of support over the years from the United States. So thank you to anyone who shares our message, shares what's happening, helps put a spotlight. Elon Musk has put the biggest spotlight ever again this week on Britain, because that's what this era should be deemed upon. As we look back in history, I think it will be looked upon as for Britain.
Well, Tommy, let me tell you, I appreciate greatly what you're doing. And if there's any way that I can support you on my platform, I'll be speaking about it, because I agree in principle on everything that you've said. And, you know, I have to say something, though. I love the United Kingdom. I've been there many, many times. I've had speaking engagements there. The people have always received me well. I don't know if you know this, but the last time I was entering for a big speaking tour, I had visited Andrew first, and we took some photos and we posted them on social media. And there was a woman in Parliament who tried to get me banned from coming into the country, saying that I was a misogynist because I had a picture with Andrew Tate. And she went to every one of my events, every one of the establishments, and told them, if you host this guy, we're going to take away your business license. And we had to move around to try to get new venues and everything else. She really tried to get me out of the country, you know. And yet they're allowing these women to be, and allowing all this other stuff to go on. And me, because I take a picture with somebody, I'm no misogynist. I got 5 daughters and a wife, you know. And then they come down on Andrew Tate for a lot of things that he says on social media. I understand, but yet they're allowing these women to be raped over the years in record numbers. It's just so hypocritical.
Michael, they allow terrorists in. They literally allow terrorists. The Muslim Brotherhood have got bases in our country, so the Muslim Brotherhood can come in. Here's but to here. We're allowed in for decades. They can all come in. But Michael took a picture of Andrew Tate. You know exactly what they've done to you. We can't get venues. I couldn't hire an indoor venue because exactly that. I hired an indoor venue in the city of Manchester. I sold 1,000 tickets in a week. 1,000 tickets in a week to talk. The council went and told the venue, we will take your alcohol license. There's no freedom in Britain. There's no freedom in Britain. You see, like Donald Trump, Elon Musk will be arrested. The government, if they had their way, they'd arrest him. They'd take X off him. We have a communist government. They don't believe in free speech. They literally, none of the political parties in the UK believe in free speech. Even the so-called populist ones don't actually believe in free speech. They still want to restrict speech. And that's what...
None of the Western governments believe in free speech now.
We're having a free speech festival because what we need now more than ever is more speech, more conversation, more dialogue. So,
Tommy, let me ask you this. You know, I know they've retaliated against you. They've locked you up a couple of times. I don't trust anybody in government. You know, I think Biden's got more blood on his hands than any president in my lifetime, for sure. Just what he did over the border and all these things that he did, allowed women to be raped, never spoke about it, never even had, you know, courtesy to visit their families. Just these people they can. I don't put anything past them. Are you worried about yourself in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I worry, man. I worry because I know how much we're rocking them. And as I said, they got me in jail for 18 months. I nearly got killed in prison. Yeah, I nearly got killed in prison years ago. I lost all my teeth in prison. But on this most recent one, and it did damage me. I spent 7 months on solitary confinement. I come out not great, man. I'm still not myself. I still struggle from that. I've only been out 3 months. But that, even when I went to prison, I went for a civil offence. I played a film. I made a documentary. I got transported to a maximum security jail, and I spent the entirety of my sentence. I went into that prison and left the prison without seeing another person. I didn't see another prisoner. So I spent the entire time on my own. They know what that does. Now, in the UK, in Europe, we have the Mandela Rule. It's called 14 days of solitary confinement is all they're allowed to do, Chuck, because of the adverse effect. So the government and the establishment have attempted to break me. And at times, I'll be honest, Michael, in the last 15 years of activism, at times I've been driven to a point of insanity. I've been in some pretty dark places, man. When I know people want to kill me, I know I want to be targeted. I've been bankrupt through the courts. I've been in prison time and time again. I face court now in 4 weeks. So yeah, I've been put through a lot, but I think that all those experiences chisel your character. And I wholeheartedly know what I stand for is right. and I know the consequence, the fear of what my children will be handed in the next generation, and the fear of what they. If someone has to fight, I'll fight. I want my son to fight. Well, if someone has to have this fight and stand up, let it be us. Let it be us. And we will lose our nation if we don't do it now. It is now or never for Britain. It's now or never. And we are, you see, if Donald Trump didn't win the election, we wouldn't even have a chance. We wouldn't have a fighting chance. We have a chance because we have friends in America who believe in freedom. So that whole ripple and tidal wave of freedom. As I come out of jail, I've got my YouTube channel back. Unthinkable. I've got my YouTube channel back. That is simply down to Donald Trump's election. So we're grateful.
Well, Tommy, let me tell you, I support you. You know, people have called you an extremist, but you got to be extreme when you're fighting against such radicalism like that and really fighting for your country. I consider you more of a patriot than anything else, and I appreciate what you're doing because, again, the more success you have in the United Kingdom, it just kind of spreads. It spreads through America. I only hope you have somebody rise up like Trump, to save your country. But you're causing that to happen.
Nigel Farage.
For now, so keep up the good work. And like I said, any way I can support you, I'm happy to do so on my platform. I mean that.
Thank you, Michael. You got an invite, mate. Come over 13th September. Get yourself over it for the revolution.
I'll do that. I might take you up if they let me in the country. I'll do it.
If they let you in, mate, we'll have media part. We invite. It's to see what we do. The mainstream media are not invited. They have no access. Yeah, we invite the alternatives, the podcasters, the YouTubers. We've got them coming from all over the globe, man. It's going to be do you know what else it is? We don't allow it. It's not going to be an aggressive atmosphere. We're celebrating because that's the last thing they want to see. They don't want to see us party. We've got live music, bands, patriotic music. We're going to play Jerusalem. We're going to play all of our anthems, British anthems. We're going to have a great time. We're going to celebrate our identity. But we're also going to stick it to the British establishment. So,
well, I might take you up on that. If they lock me up, I mean, I've been there, done that, so I know I always get out. It's not a big deal to me. But you just keep up the good work. This was a very refreshing and great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. I enjoyed it, man. Thanks for giving me a platform. Yeah, cheers.
All right, well, there you have it. I mean, Tommy is very passionate, as you can see, about his country. He's a patriot. He wants his country to be what it's supposed to be. He doesn't want it taken over by these leftists. He said it several times. You know, what's happening in the United States is saving his country to a degree because people are waking up. How could anybody sit back? Anybody, especially in government, a government that's first duty is to protect the people. Seeing women get raped and stand up for the perpetrator rather than the victim, this is insane. It's demonic. There's something mentally wrong with these people, emotionally wrong with these, spiritually wrong with these people. You can't have that in a civilized, you can't have it in any society, but certainly not a civilized society. There's something going on there in the United Kingdom. Now, people are waking up, Tommy, because of people like Tommy, who's not going to back down. No, this is my country. It's not Pakistani country, like you said. It's not Afghan countries. It's my country. And we have to stand up for it. The same thing here in the United States, people. Stop with this politics. It's not politics. These are issues that affect your life. When your women are being raped, you call that politics or you call that issues? I mean, come on. When people are getting arrested for praying in front of an abortion clinic, what do you call that? You call that politics or do you call that issues? When freedom of speech is being attacked, do you call that politics or do you call that an issue that's affecting your life? You know, we got to wake up, people. We can't align ourselves with an ideology that's dangerous for our women, dangerous for our children. We can't, no matter who it is. Let me tell you something, people. I'm for real. If Donald Trump were to come out and do some of these insane things that I see happening on the left, I would discard him in 1 minute. I'd be the first one to talk about it and call him out on it. I really mean that.
Oh, I wish that link was on YouTube.
You know, when you talk about his tariffs, maybe his tariff, I don't know. He's a business guy. For now, I got to put my trust in him. But I'm not saying I'm 1,000,000% supportive because I know he's right. I'm supporting him because I'm hoping that he's right. And if he's wrong, we're going to find out. But that's different. That's kind of a business kind of a thing. Yeah, it affects our pocketbooks a little bit because, with these stuff. But who knows? Let's see if he's right. But when you talk about transgenderism, when you talk about
that's someone
bringing
up
graphic material into our kids' schools when they're 5, 6, 7 years old, when you talk about transgender surgery in minors, when you're talking about taking the rights from parents away from having a say-so over their kids, when you're talking about abortion in the 9th month, when you're talking about taking away our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, when you're talking about migrants coming into these countries that we have to pay for, getting free health care, giving the ability to vote, no, these are different things, people. These are issues that are affecting our lives. If Trump were to reverse himself on any one of those issues, I would be the first one to talk out about him. You guys got to stop this politics stuff and talk about issues that are affecting your lives. Please understand this. Yeah, I'm passionate because I have a wife. I have 7 children. I have 7 grandchildren and more on the way. I want this country to be what it's supposed to be for them, a free country, a capitalist country, a country that everybody wants to come to, where people can enjoy their lives, live, work, have family, go on vacation. That's what I want, with nobody on top of them every minute, government telling them what to do. Limited government. And I like what Tommy said. This country was founded on biblical Christian principle. There's no doubt, you can't deny it. Look at your history. Look at our founding fathers. They spoke about biblical principles all the time.
There is not one third world Christian country. There's not one.
You can't take that away, although people on the left with their crazy ideology try to take it away. People, I think you know where I'm coming from. He was a very good guest. I want you to listen to what he has to say. Clear your minds, listen to it. Don't be, so anti anything that you're not willing to listen to reason. That's all we're asking. Okay? I hope you enjoyed it. And listen, we're going to keep bringing you guests that we feel can provide you information, sometimes entertaining, whatever it might be. But that's how it is, my friends. How do I always leave you? Same way, never going to change. Be safe. What Tommy's talking about, protecting the women of your country, the children of your country. Be safe. When you let radical extremists come in and have their say over your country, and then protect those that are perpetrating crimes on our citizens, come on, be safe, be healthy. God bless each and every one of you, and I mean that. God bless your families, your communities, your neighborhoods, all of your loved ones. And yes, people, I'll see you next time. Stay tuned.
Okay, that was really interesting.
Oops, that's Discord. That's not Google. My bad. Here we go. This is our clip from Tommy Robinson getting in a fight in Italy, I believe. Let's take a look.
Whilst I was in Rome to cover the Italian election, I come across a video online of a reporter being attacked by migrants live on air, not far from where I was staying.
Succede in una stazione centrale in Italia di notte. Francesca.
Molti di loro provengono dall'Africa centrale, alcuni dalla zona del Maghreb, ma ti devo dire, Nicola, anche parlando un po' con loro, quasi tutti sono stanziali qui alla stazione Termini. Domani mattina...
Okay, the footage is too blurry there. I watched a bit of this. This is funny.
الذكر تناجي الله في الصبر وترجو رحمة تسجي.
Yes, it's coming out. It's coming out. Good. It's so good.
This is Ali Dawa. I trolled him on Facebook.
Are you? No, it's not question time, yeah? Now you can answer my question. You're running a lot, talking a lot, you run your mouth a lot, yeah?
Hi, 1974. Welcome to the channel.
The Sunnah and the Islamic literature, they orders us. I'm a Muslim. I'm an Orthodox Muslim. I follow my religion to every letter.
Are you a revert? Are you a revert?
I'm a revert to Islam.
You're a what?
Yeah, I'm a revert to Islam.
So you wasn't born in Islam?
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
So you must can you show me where it is that is killing innocent people? Answer my question. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. Me being one of the irrelevant. Why are you shouting? Why are you shouting? What's the point of coming to this? What's the point of liar? What's the point of coming to this? What's the point? Stop shouting. Stop shouting. Okay, let's talk. Stop shouting. Stop shouting. Where in the Quran and the Sunnah it teaches us to innocent. Stop shouting. What's your interpretation of innocent? Innocent people. Men, women, children, kids, monks. Yes. Not an Islamic interpretation. In the book, you say Imam Qurtubi. You want to get a proper camera, bro, not this geezer. Where? I've gone through your book, yeah? Not your book, your friend's book. I was a bit late. I walked a bit late, he walked a bit late. Yeah. So, look, you talk to me. I'm talking to you. Can you say, in your friend's book, you said Imam Qurtubi. Do you know Imam Qurtubi?
Shawnee, look how desperate he is to catch Tommy out. He just can't stop talking. Look at him.
You're an apostate, okay? No, I mean, you're a revert. I'm an apostate now. I'm an apostate, yeah? You're a revert. Where does it teach? Hold on. Was you born a Muslim? Was you born a Muslim? Everyone's born a Muslim. I was born a Muslim, yes. So you wasn't a revert. No, I reverted back. So you reverted back. Your mum and dad are Muslim. Irrelevant. So your mum and dad are Muslim. So irrelevant. So you're not recognising your mum and dad as Muslims. No, it's not relevant. Because you don't accept their faith as Muslims. Irrelevant. Do you recognise your mum and dad as Muslims? My mum accepted it. Do you recognise my dad is a non-Muslim? Do you recognise your mum and dad's sect as Islamic, as followers of Islam? No. And so then, my point is... No, you're diverting the topic. Listen, Ali, my point, let me make my point. My point is that your mum and dad's sect... No, this is Ali, watch. You got 5 minutes, I spoke to you. Let me talk. Listen, so he won't recognise his mum and dad as followers of Islam. He won't recognise that. Now, that is the reason that people who follow your mum and dad's sect under Islam are murdered and terrorised as apostates by radical Muslims because they don't recognise, they do what you're doing, they do not recognise. You don't recognise, you as a Muslim do not recognise that another group of people who follow Islam are Muslims, do you? Like you just said, that's why you call yourself a revert. Now, because of the ideology, listen, because of your ideology, no, of course I'm not Muslim.
I got to admit, that's similar to the Catholics.
No, frankly.
They believe if you're not a Catholic, you can't get to heaven. They literally believe that.
Majority of people, practically, the majority of people. Okay, listen, my point is that because of your ideology and that view, you don't even view your own mum and dad as being Muslims because they don't follow the same interpretation of Islam as you, which is the reason why they're murdered. It's the reason why radical jihadis are killing them left and right. So you should be your mum and dad. Yeah, exactly. No. So should we kill my mum and dad? Do you not recognise? Should I kill my mum and dad then? You tell me, bro. Do you recognise? Don't talk about my religion. You sit with Ivor. You sit with Ivor. You sit with Ivor. I listen to you. Abdul Rahim Green. Abdul Rahim Green. Look at that. I went to my mom, my dad, my granddad, my grandmother. I went to your mum to point out the fact. I went out to your mum to point out the fact. You call yourself a revert, which means you don't accept your mum and dad as being Muslims or true Muslims. Okay. And because of that, across the Islamic world, Muslims are being murdered because they're viewed as apostates. Because they're viewed as apostates. Because he doesn't recognise them as following Islam. Because they're viewed as apostates, he can want to kill them. Now you just told me you don't recognise your mum and dad's interpretation of Islam as being followers of Muslims. They're not Muslim. No. From the sect they're from. You know my mum and dad. That's all you. Okay, the sect your mum and dad are from. You don't recognise. Mum and dad like you know. You know my mum and dad. What's my dad's name? The sect your mum and dad. The sect your mum and dad follow. My dad does not follow a sect. My dad's an agnostic. See, you're chatting nonsense. You lie. Listen. You said, therefore, that means my mum and dad is not Muslim. I should kill them. No. Okay. Did I say?
Shawnee, you know where them 72 Muslims virgins come from? 2 are holy or something like that, and the rest all are rewards from hell. So out of them 72 virgins, 70 of them are rewards from hell. So with Allah, you get rewarded with things from hell. Isn't that just crazy?
Every single Muslim. Okay, which one go off there, man? Okay, you work with Ira. I swear to God, I don't work with Ira. You don't work with Ira. I swear by Allah. Will you condemn Ira? Will you condemn Abdul? Will you condemn?
Okay, Abdul Rahim Green says on YouTube. No. Condemn him.
No, why would I?
I'll tell you what. Okay, I'll tell you what.
Condemn it first.
Yeah, I'll condemn.
There you go. Because you support them. You support them.
I'll tell you
You
what.
support them.
I'll tell you.
They are the reason why Joe Cost got killed, and you are the reason why Darren Osman ran over innocent people. And I think it's the reason. I say it's the reason why we Muslims get killed, and innocent people get killed.
Darren Osborne aimed for the Al-Quds March. His target was the Al-Quds March. You understand Al-Quds March? More people did that. You reported the banner. You said you defended the banner. You defended the banner. You defended the Al-Quds banner. You defend Al-Quds banner.
Yes.
You defend Al-Quds banner.
Yes. I don't understand.
No, listen. I'm not about Palestine. I'm not about Palestine. I'm saying, do you defend the Al-Quds March? The Iranian terrorist sponsored march with Hezbollah flag. But if you use Hezbollah flag, it's a Hezbollah. Condemn Hezbollah. Condemn Hezbollah.
I condemn anyone that kills innocent men, innocent women, innocent children, and innocent babies.
The problem is,
under Israel.
No.
Okay, wow.
Israel are not terrorist organization. Hezbollah. Will you condemn
Who's
Hezbollah?
blowing up
Will you
innocent
condemn
women and
Hezbollah?
children on a
Just
daily
for the
basis?
record, he won't condemn Hezbollah. Hezbollah are a terrorist organization who murder gays, murder non-Muslims, and terrorize people. Condemn Hezbollah. Ali, condemn Hezbollah. Condemn Hezbollah.
If anyone,
condemn Hezbollah.
If Hezbollah is killing
Condemn Hezbollah.
children and babies, I'll condemn
Condemn
them. I condemn them.
So you condemn Hezbollah. Say it, Ali. Say it. Say it to the camera.
I condemn anyone that
No.
kills innocent men, women, children, and babies.
I'm innocent.
If that's Hezbollah, I condemn it. If it's Israel, I condemn it. If that's Britain, I condemn it. If that's ISIS, I condemn it. If that's Tommy Robinson, I condemn it. If that's Darren Osman, I condemn it.
Just say I condemn Hezbollah.
I condemn Hezbollah if they kill innocent men.
No.
Now.
Why can't you just say I condemn Hezbollah as a terrorist organisation? Do you support?
Unbelievable, isn't it, Shawnee? Allah tells them he's a great deceiver, and they just ignore that. Now, he's not deceiving us because we don't believe in him. So he's a great deceiver of Islam. And they don't even question it.
I know your support.
Do you support Hezbollah?
Tell me your corners.
I'm cornered. You got that? Are you watching the same thing? Are you watching the same thing?
So I'm going to stick to the topic. Can you show me anywhere? This is the Quran. You know the book was why Muslims support Islam, yeah?
Innocent people.
Can you show me a single verse in the Quran? I listen to you. Okay, absolutely. I'm just asking some questions. Tommy is the one who wrote a book called Why Muslims Kill for Islam. I went through that book. In that book, he says, in Islam, murder means kindness. What the hell? He said, let me finish. I listen to you, listen to me. Yeah? Don't want to shout over each other like kids. So, I'm asking for this. This is what I'm asking for, yeah? ISIS, who are running over innocent non-Muslims on the streets, has that got anything to do with my religion? If so, can you bring me a single verse from the Quran, the whole Quran that you got, and put it in your book?
You hate ISIS Quran.
Let me finish. You smiled it.
Who are you?
I don't know.
Who are you?
Smiled it. He's going to use it as a yeah?
Another random Muslim.
No, yeah?
You're a comedian, Abby.
Okay, let me do my comedy then, innit? Let me do my comedy, yeah?
You do comedy every day.
This is lovely. Anyway, I'm asking for a single verse in the Quran, in the Hadith, the entire Islamic literature that says, let me finish, that says Muslims, for you guys to be a good Muslim and die as a martyr, go jihad, go and kill innocent people.
You see how he so focuses on the word innocent people? Because his view or Islamic worldview of innocent would say,
I'm from the camera.
Okay, tell me one thing. You ask me a question. Tell me how Muhammad met his wife Sophia. Tell me how he met his wife Sophia.
No. This is like a blow. In the Battle of Khaybar. And Battle of Khaybar, the Jews were planning to kill the Prophet.
Get away.
Don't, ignorant guy. You said the Prophet killed 600 Jews. Yeah? The Prophet had a treaty which said that they will respect both parties. The Muslims will respect the Jews and the Christians, and they will live in harmony. But the three tribes, majority of the Jews, stuck to the treaty. Three tribes tried to assassinate the Prophet, he exiled them. The second one tried to assassinate the Prophet, he exiled them. The third one, what did the third one do? Imagine Russia and Britain is going to war, and America supplies Russia with weapons to attack Britain. That's called
breaking the treaty.
How did he meet his
So, therefore, I told you, at the Battle of Khaybar, he invaded the castle.
He beheaded her. So her husband was
No,
killed.
no, no. Yes, he was killed.
Hold on, wait, let me clarify a second. So her husband was killed.
Yes,
And that night, and her brother. So her husband and her brother were killed. They were murdered. And that night, and that night, listen, calm down, listen.
Calm down.
So
You're on, I go on Facebook. Yeah. This is Ali's troll watch.
It's not
When you yuck your mouth to man and talk yourself, you get me coming to you. And if you don't listen, I will come to you wherever you are. I was going to catch you in that breakfast. A lady was there. She got there.
Listen, go on, okay? So your prophet, on the same night that he killed her husband and her brother, he then married her that night.
Yes.
So you think she willingly married him?
Yes.
You think she willingly?
Yes.
So a lady,
yes,
whose husband was murdered, her brother was murdered, they were beheaded.
Why were they beheaded? Look at this guy. He's making a long story.
It doesn't matter why he's beheaded. Listen to this Muslim.
Hey, so why? They were beheaded. Hey, well, waged war against the prophet.
You think your prophet? So you don't think your prophet raped her that night?
Hey, well,
you don't think your prophet raped her that night? I said rape. Where'd you get that from? He married her that night.
Show me any two things that said he got raped.
He married her that night.
Show me.
He said
Show
he had her that night.
Can you show me?
He had her that night.
When you get married, you have
He thinks.
Sorry, I don't know what you do when you're married, but when you're married, you have intercourse.
What's that to do with killing, man?
Because he murdered her husband. Her husband.
Why?
Because he surrendered.
They surrendered.
They surrendered. They were murdered.
Wasn't it? The Battle of Khaybar, yeah? They're in the castle, they're attacking the prophet, and we want
They told all the men.
One second.
I need to talk.
1 second. When you go to war, you throw roses, like, here you go, guys.
Oh, right, okay.
Here you go.
Okay.
When you go and see these ISIS scumbags, who in my name, shall I tell you something? ISIS is a bigger danger to me. You know why?
We're talking about.
Because they're
I won't throw roses on you. I'll throw bricks at you.
I'm coming to Sophia.
I'm talking about Sophia.
You know why? Because ISIS, they look like us, they talk like us, they walk like us,
They act like you.
and they act like you. There you go. Okay, you know what? You made me remember something. You tell me what you had. One second. You tell me what you had.
Are you
You show me.
Are you full of shit?
What did you have? Oh, fine. What did you do? What did you do? No. You had me. Church. Jihad means the following. You have Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany is struggle. Let them laugh. They're not going to say this.
What's he going to say about Germany? Because I know the Muslims helped Hitler in World War II.
So you need to go tell the 2,000 British Muslims who went to join ISIS then.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to preach that. What are you doing with preaching to me? There's 2,000 Muslims in this country who went and fought ISIS. They're walking around like they're in our country now. Why haven't you then? Is any online footage of you challenging radical jihadists? Is there any online footage?
No.
So how come it's not? So you've never challenged the radical jihadists?
Because I can't find
So
it.
what are you doing?
I'm going to Lima. And you try to get the doctor.
Get in the car.
Don't try to get
Let's go.
Jihad, you said what is jihad, yeah? Jihad is struggle.
It's going to go challenge the jihad. So what we're going to do straight off this.
Shawnee, I tried to read the Quran, but it just made no sense and it just went in circles. It was sort of like Mein Kampf from Hitler. I tried to read that as well, but it was just talking in circles. Wasn't making proper sense.
Yes, let's get to the
Can we go to
topic.
Jihad's
Let's
house?
get to the topic. Of course you will. I'm telling you,
there's no
if you're a man, we'll go together. If you're a man, we'll go together. Now let me tell you what jihad is, yeah? When Nazi Germany was attacking Britain, did Britain throw kisses at them and say, "Wow, thank you for the bombs"? What did Britain do? Britain came and defended themselves, yeah? So don't come to me with this nonsense. You came up and you
murdered her husband and her brother, and you think she willingly married him that night. You think that? You really look at me.
Do you have any evidence?
Evidence he didn't.
Do you have any evidence of he didn't? Stop
Do you think any woman after her husband's murdered
Are you an expert? Are you an expert in my religion?
Are you?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are?
Yes. No,
Answer the question.
What do you know about my religion?
No, I'm
listening to you.
Do you think after murdering a man?
Yes.
You think?
Yes. Thank you. And now I'm going to save you.
Hold on. Let me clarify that. He beheaded her husband. Right? He beheaded.
Why? Give context, doesn't matter. It's like saying, how can you have context? Churchill killed Hitler. He fought Hitler. Excuse me. This is war. You're making it seem like they were going for a walk in the park. This is war. When you go to war, what happens? What happens? For example, Iraq. When our government and America went to Iraq, 1 million people killed. You remember that? Terrible. You even said to me on the phone. How can that be? Can't you bear walking the rest? Yeah, he shot this one. Darren Osborne. He said the reason he ran over those people is because he saw attacks happening. Yeah. Yes, you said no, it's nothing to do with me. We saw these attacks. Did you read the reasons why he said? No. I'm not saying Darren Osborne give a statement as to why he done it, and what he actually said is because there's all these young girls being raped. Yes, which we condemn. Okay, Islam condemns. Rape is haram. Alcohol is haram. It's haram. So, and there's scumbags. Anyone who grooms and girls is scumbag. You're a Muslim, non-Muslim. Reasons he gave. Reasons he gave. He gave the reasons as attacks. He gave the reasons as Al-Quds Day March. Which you think that is terrorism. You support Al-Quds Day March. Which you claim that is terrorism. Do you support Al-Quds Day March? I support Palestine. This is Palestine March, I support it. Oh, so it doesn't matter if the people behind it are calling for the complete destruction. Okay, so I support Palestine. What about Ayatollah Khamenei? You support Ayatollah. What about Ayatollah? I'm come back to when have I said I support? When have I said? So don't talk to me about what they said. Well, you support them. No, there's a connection between. I don't support Britain first. You do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. You said they're having a trial today. Make some prayers for them. No, I didn't. They got another side. They make some prayers. Anyway, for Mary's in the sky. I'm asking a question. Please show me where it is still innocent people. That's what I'm asking. Okay, let me ask you. That's why your whole book is innocent people. Innocent people. Yes. You both use the word innocent. What do you define as innocent? I'll tell you what you might define. Man, woman, children, Islamic.
Diane, it was just violent nonsense. It didn't have a actual goal. It just was a bad read. I couldn't even keep reading.
Scholars. Top Islamic scholars. Top Islamic scholars. You want it? What's it? 5 minutes. You want it? What is this? Top Islamic scholars. I'll edit in this video. Top Islamic scholars, listen. You got innocent can simply mean being non-Muslim. I dare you to show me that. I swear to God. Use the reference. No, give it time. Use your phone. Use your phone. Use your phone. Use your phone. I'm gonna wait. Use your phone. Use my phone. Use my phone. Do you believe? Do you believe? Use this phone, bro. Do you believe? Use the phone. Use the phone. I'm here to help. Do you believe? Do you believe? Ali, listen to me. Listen to me. I believe in Islam. Yes, listen to me. But you've said, do you believe? So you believe, just to clarify, you believe that after Muhammad beheaded a husband... Oh my God, listen to me. Yes. After Muhammad beheaded a husband and brother, she willingly married him that night. You believe that? Do you also believe that Muhammad flew up to heaven on the winged horse? Do you believe Muhammad flew up to heaven on the winged horse? I'm going to answer both of them.
Vas, I'll check that out later. That looks interesting.
Somebody thinks there's something like
picking you up.
Number one, did the Prophet marry those who were waging war against him, killed the father and the brother because they were waging war against him, and married the daughter? Yes. Now, second question. Wait, do I have to Muhammad was raped? He raped her. He beheaded her husband and he raped her. Brother, it was a rape. He just admitted it. Second question. Did the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him fly to the heavens? Yes, on some kind of animal. Yes. Yes. He thinks continuing the fight. He thinks Muhammad to heaven on the winged horse. Yes. Can I not have a belief? Can I not have a belief? Are you really thinks that? Can I not have a belief? Who thinks that? You really think that?
You believe in a man who across naked?
Who does? Saeed. Who does?
I believe. Who does Saeed? What's so far fetched about American crucified?
I believe
in unicorns.
Saeed.
You believe it's not a winged unicorn.
One second. Look.
You believe in unicorns? Just clarify. Tell me. On an animal.
Yes. Now. Look. It's like me going to the Jews and saying, do you believe this and this and this? I'm mocking the Jews. I'm not going to drop to your level. Anyway.
What are you talking about?
Hi, Saka. Welcome to the channel.
You support Al-Quds.
Did you write this book or not? Did you write this book or not? You wrote three, yeah? If you wrote, I'll eat my socks. All of these.
Yeah, a lot of shouting going on there. I'll finish off with Tony, guys.
Tony, hope you're all doing well. We got so many things to get into. We had what's going on with these EBT benefits. I've had a lot of people in the comment section talking about this the most of recent, and now we got some new updates on that. We know, for one, that there is none going to be given out today. It is November 1st, and it could be delayed until the 22nd, and the reason is very, very interesting, and it is actually related to some of the stuff we were talking about. Matter of fact, we even have a clip.
It does really show. We look back and see how bad your English are.
From Joe Rogan with a famous guest, we're talking Elon, talking about this, saying the exact reason that you and I were thinking in the comment.
Bear, you sent us to paradise with beaches. Ha ha. You're in old England, which rains every day, and we're in paradise with beaches and lovely mountains everywhere. You got nothing. So what move was that? It wasn't a very good move.
So we'll get into that. We have also a ton of other stuff to get into. What is going on in the background, my friends? We'll get into that some, because I think there is some.
Oh, Bogan, look out. He's an Aussie. He's betraying me, another Aussie, for no reason.
Really, I think there's something brewing, my friends. And I don't think it's beer, all right? We got something to talk about with regards to that as well. We also have, I want to get into some of this with Charlie Kirk, because I didn't get into it in my other video. We'll get into that. I wanted to show an aspect that no one's really seen. Brandon Tatum here, what he had to say about some of the people. And I want to play a couple clips from this trigonometry broadcast about it, because I think he has something relevant that almost no one really knows about. Apparently, him and Candace are very good friends. Matter of fact, his mom, her mom, Candace's mom, hangs out with and goes to his son's football games and stuff. I mean, they're like literally close. And they have exactly the opposite opinion on this entire thing. These two are actually friends. I'll get into that as well. I think that's really interesting because they have a completely different aspect or perspective on this. And he talks about some stuff that we don't really understand that is good to know from the outside. All right, we'll get into that as well. And I'm going to get into this whole thing about gargoyles and much more. Let's just get going here. Maybe I'll start with the Candace stuff because I think this is interesting. I think a lot of people, and we'll get into the EBT as well. Maybe I'll do the EBT. We'll do the EBT first, then we'll do the Candace stuff. All right, let's do that. So we got here, federal judges mandate SNAP funding as U.S. shutdown hits 32nd day. Interestingly, though, our president came out and said, no, we're not going to do it. Two federal judges ruled on Friday. This is from Newsweek. The president's administration must continue to pay for SNAP benefits using emergency reserve funds during the government shutdown. However, it remains unclear exactly when SNAP recipients may receive benefits after the administration announced that they would freeze payments starting November 1st. So now they're freezing payments. Last I heard it was until the 22nd. Now,
okay, we're 3 days into November, and then 40 million didn't get their SNAP. They're not actually rioting and destroying food markets, are they?
Again.
Or are they, and I just don't know about it.
And I saw the comment section. Everyone's talking about this. There were like half the comments were about SNAP, well, 40%. And I talk about like 15 things in a video. And everyone's talking about the SNAP, right? A lot of people are saying they're veterans or their grandma only or their mother only gets $50 a month SNAP. Like we're talking guys that are like disabled from war, missing a leg, only getting $50 of SNAP benefits, right? There's a lot of different comments I saw. And what's interesting is I showed you guys a store clerk talking about some of the receipts she had seen, $15,000 SNAP per month, $30,000 cash, $11,000, $12,000, just absolutely insane, right? Makes no sense. And I showed you guys this graph showing that something is definitely amiss with this whole thing, showing how the SNAP literally doubled under the Biden administration. And some are wondering if it was what Elon is saying right here. Check this out. Check out what Elon has to say. I was right. We were right. I told you guys. We call stuff often early here, way before everybody else gets to it.
The reason you have this standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave.
They'll leave
because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States.
Now, here's the interesting part. I didn't even think about it until just like an hour ago. What about this election going on right now in New York with Zoran? Could there be something with regards to that related? Because there's a lot of people getting SNAP benefits there that may not be, of course, from a country. Could it be that it's sort of a motivation to push the button for a certain candidate? And with it being turned off, it makes it much more difficult for them to win. Although I think he probably will win anyways, because it sounds like the odds are very much in his favor. But it is very interesting to note that, because, of course, that was being used potentially in other situations, particularly what we saw in 2020 and 2024, right? You see what I'm getting at now? He's saying they're literally importing them to, of course, get someone in, right? So that's what he's saying. And I think there's more to it than that. There might be a lot more to it than that. We're seeing that's what happened in Europe. We saw what's going on in Britain.
It's probably the same guy. It's probably Lobo.
All these people coming in getting free benefits, right? They're trying to play the same playbook here. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff. I'm going to talk about Candace next. First, I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 months worth for $6.97. You're going to definitely want to get that. So you never know what's next. One of our mostly peaceful thing. And by the way, that is one of the things we're going to talk about. You got this something coming up on the 5th, where they're planning to surround, of course, all the buildings in D.C. Millions. And I think this might be the action. This might be a lot bigger than the No Kings, it looks like. It might actually turn into something, too. We don't know. Maybe this is what he's preparing for. We have our president's appointees all moving their families to military bases. That's kind of weird. We have also 24,000 troops being created to deal with these things going on in these cities. It sounds like there's more going on than we realize. You might want to get that. Food supply, go check it out. Link is in the description. Get this book as well. The Lost Ways on How to Live Without Electricity. Get the printed version, $37. Let's get back to the video. So we have here Candace Owens. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I wanted to give a different angle that a lot of people haven't noticed or heard. I thought it was interesting. It kind of gave me a little bit of a fresh perspective on this whole thing. Because we've seen, if you go over to X, it's just a dumpster fire. It's almost always a dumpster fire over there. And you see these narratives just go way over here, way over there, and they just stay there. And there's not enough pushback. Because if you push back, they'll say, oh, you're just one of them. You're bought out. That's what you are. You're getting your money from them, aren't you? You see what I mean? Like, if you even try to even say, well, wait a second, maybe you're not fully right. Oh, you're one of them. It's like stupid. It's so dumb. This is what we saw. This is the same stuff they were doing a decade ago here on YouTube. All the, conspiracy guys were like, oh, you're one of them because you don't agree. And they were the same way. They were all the same way. They always did this stuff.
Yeah, Diane, 57 volcanoes blew yesterday. If that's true, I can't remember where I saw it. I saw it somewhere on YouTube. If that's true, I wonder if that's got anything to do with Atlas 31 Atlas. Because since Atlas has been around, there seems to be a lot more worse weather stuff happening.
Now, I've criticized Erica one time now because of what she did here. I thought this was pretty cringe. Everyone thought this was pretty cringe. What she said about JD. It was pretty bad.
Let's see if I can find it.
Talking like he's like, she's talking like he was going to be his next husband or something. I don't know. The way she was talking was kind of weird. At any rate, so now she's gotten a lot of backlash, but I think the backlash is way worse than it should be. I mean, honestly, I don't think she's this weird actress just making up stuff. I don't think that. I mean, everything. Not everything has to be a theory. Not everything has to be, well, it's not what they're saying. Oh, they're not real people. I mean, you know what I mean? Not everything has to be that, right? Not every single thing out there has to be that. And I feel like a lot of people just go that direction, right? So I try to be more balanced, but we do have now leftists making fun of her. Fake grieving widow grifter is what they're calling her in a Halloween costume. I think it's pretty sick to do this. I mean, clearly they're acting like she literally did it. Like she literally, took him out or something. I mean, give me a break, dude. It's the wife of Charlie Kirk. This isn't like you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. This is ridiculous at this point. You may not like her. She may seem weird. Maybe she has weird attributes. Maybe she doesn't act right all the time, or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't mean you can accuse her of doing that. You know what I mean? It just seems like a little overboard to me. And you have here another perspective from Brandon Tatum. Now, I don't agree with everything Brandon Tatum says. Matter of fact, as I've told before, I'm the guy that told him he should get on YouTube. I'm literally the guy that told him to get on YouTube. And apparently he's gotten very successful, far more successful than I realized. He's probably worth multi-millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Back then he was...
Yeah, Diane, I just looked for it and I can't find it anywhere. So it may have been fake news. And I was thinking 57 volcanoes, surely that would make the weekly news or the nightly news.
Kind of broke, making only $40,000 a year. And I said, hey, man, you're pretty good at... I interviewed him on YouTube. I interviewed him. I was like, hey, you're pretty good at talking, man. I think you do good on YouTube. The guy's got 4 million subs now. The dude gets like probably millions of dollars. He might even make $1 million a year or $2 million. I don't even know what he makes. He probably makes a lot of money. I'm serious. Like he probably makes a lot of money. He's talking about TV USA makes $100 million a year. This dude probably makes a ton of money now. And at any rate, but let's just hear what he has to say.
But Candace, she hit me up, and her family lives in Phoenix. Some of her family, her dad and some family members, and we're very close. Like even to this day, her aunt was at my son's football game yesterday or 2 days ago. So she said, I want you to meet and let's see if we, have some connection and we can do content together. So she lands in Mesa. We go to this restaurant. I'm thinking it's just me and her. So we go. I show up. Her whole family's there. And we argued, me, Candace, and one of her other family members against the other family members who were leftists. Well, not even leftists, they were Democrats. And we literally argued until they had to kick us out of the restaurant.
Dude, that sounds like her, dude. Oh, that's some funny stuff right there. Yeah, I can actually imagine that. I can see her doing that. All right. She is pretty feisty. All right. Check out. So you get the idea. They're friends. You would never expect that because supposedly he's the guy getting money from a certain country for talking positive about some country in the middle.
It's my country. I don't have to learn to live with Muslims. They have to learn to live with me. It's my country, not theirs.
At least. All right.
And they come out here. They're all on the dole. They're all in Australia. A lot of the Muslims have joined the outlaw motorcycle gangs. So they're running organised crime through the bikie gangs.
To say that Turning Point was behind this. I know these young people. They wouldn't hurt a fly. I was on campus and I got attacked at UC Davis. Now, I could have whooped all these little non-binaries myself. I wouldn't even call my fist. I could have just been slapping them left and right. But I was trying to protect the image of Turning Point and not be the black man knocking out college kids. I'm 30-some years old. So I kind of just made sure I defended myself or whatever the case may be. But the kids that were doing the film work were flustered. I mean, they're shaking. I had a conflict. I was a cop and I fight people and pulling guns on people. And so these young people are scared. They don't know how to handle conflict. They're intimidated. They don't know what to do. They want to quit. They want to go home. And these aren't people that will coordinate an attack.
Yeah. So of course, that's the point. My point is there's a bunch of just normal Joes that are working at TPUSA, and a lot of these theories out there are acting like, oh, they're all a part of it. They're all doing in on it. Look, the guy with the camera, he's the one that did it. It's like kind of funny. I know a lot of people like making up theories and stuff, and maybe there's some weight.
Vass, are you talking about Charlie Kirk's wife? She's getting a bit of bad publicity at the moment.
To one or two of them, but most of them are probably garbage, right? Most of them are, obviously they can't all be true. There's several different ones, right? So I looked at it myself. I came up with a theory very early on, and I pretty much stuck with the theory the entire time. There's a second guy off to the right that did it. Okay. This is the right. Yeah. Something like that. Whatever. You know what I mean? Right. To the right.
The Muslims come from peaceful protests, do they? Look like what they just done against the Jews. That was peaceful.
So
calling for the Jews to be gassed?
I'm thinking because my camera's backwards. Literally, the way you see me, my face is actually inverted in real life. So that might confuse people if they see me in real life. I don't know. Because I have one ear that sticks out more than the other one. But so at any rate, because I was born like this. You know what I mean? My ear was born sideways or folded over when I was born. But the point is that, like, you know, I came up with that because the Tyler thing made no sense. And all the evidence I've seen is just further proven that I think my theory is correct. But then there's a lot of people came up with other weird theories. Oh, it was the camera guy. Oh, it was the guy in the front of the camera. Oh, is this guy over here, that guy over here. And of course, you have also Candace, who happens to be friends with Brandon, just every day coming out with a new thing. And now she's saying it's a dude. I'm not saying that all these things she's saying are wrong, but I feel like what she's doing is she's got like a little piece of something, and she'll make something really like a big claim out of this little piece of something, and it's like really kind of like a headline grabber type of thing that she puts out. Her latest one is that TPUSA is really Mormon and not evangelical. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, she's milking this thing till it's milked dry. It's been 2 months. Can we move on to another topic, Candace? She's literally, every day she's got some new thing. Day before yesterday or yesterday, it was that Charlie became a Catholic secretly and he had a Catholic funeral. Okay, it might have been true. I don't know if it's true or not. Whatever. But she's also now saying that they're all Mormon. The TPUSA is Mormon now. Like, what is she going to say tomorrow? They're all purple? What is she doing? I don't understand. Maybe there is some weird thing about Mormons and TPUSA. I don't know. But like taking a little tidbit and just making a big headline every day and just running with it, it's kind of ridiculous. You got to move on to another topic eventually. You would think. I wouldn't stay on a topic like that for 2 months. Although here I am talking about it again. I usually don't talk about it. I end up talking about it because she's talking about it all the time. It's so annoying. But this is actually an important clip. She's actually talking about how Joe Kent was looking into foreign, of course, influence on this whole thing, and it was shut down. I found that to be very interesting. I agree with her on that respect. That doesn't make a lot of sense. That actually makes Cash look very, very. It doesn't make TPUSA look bad. It makes Cash look very bad.
How do you show up to work, Cash Patel? Royal Canin is the #1 kitten and puppy pet food brand recommended by.
Yeah, Cash Patel's getting some bad publicity lately.
Switch on to Energy Australia and get 18% less than the electricity reference price. Oh, hello. Someone's a fan. Switch to Energy Australia today.
For dry, tired, and irritated eyes, Hylo eye drops provide.
Join MLC Super in under 10 minutes.
And the answer is he shows up to work and he demands that everybody stop looking into it because he's got it under control. He's got a very small team of people at the FBI that are allowed to touch anything pertaining to the Charlie Kirk case because, you know, this is transparency.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, Cash is the most cringe dude I've seen yet. He's the worst pick by far, period.
Dave, what contradictions are in the Bible? The Quran's full of contradictions.
End of story. Even Pam Bondi looks good compared to Cash Patel at this point, and that's pretty bad. Because Pam looks pretty bad. Okay, like.
Oh, you watched a film about the Bible. Okay, that makes you an expert, does it? How do you know the people who told you about the Bible by film weren't lying too?
She just looks like a darling.
Read it for yourself. It's easy to do.
That likes to go on Fox News. Cash looks like a dude who's just straight up lying. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. Oh, of course, I could be wrong.
They're mad at Cash Patel because he's not doing much, apparently.
There's maybe a 1% chance he's telling the truth, I guess.
Last
whatever.
picking you up.
Maybe there's a 2% chance he's telling the truth. Whatever, dude. I just don't believe any of the stuff he's saying. I don't believe in the stuff he's putting out. I don't think he understands how far gone he is. He's trying to somehow salvage this and make people believe him, but no one's believing him.
Yeah.
You should just quit, Cash. You did a terrible job. Your time is already over. You did a horrible job. You need to get replaced. Somebody needs to replace you. You're doing terrible. At any rate, so there's that topic. Then we got this here. So Yeah, I guess we'll do it. Let's do this alien thing. This is pretty interesting. So the whole 3-eye atlas, right? I found this to be very intriguing. We have a former employee from that one particular space organization, NASA. Yes. We have here a guy who used to work for him. Let's see. I got an ad here. Give me a second. I got to get past the ad. Now, this guy, what he says is he talks about the chemical structure of 3-eye atlas, which happens to be almost a very similar chemical structure, material structure to our actual spaceships.
Yeah, he's only a kid, Diane, isn't he? Still talking about getting skateboards. That's how young he is.
Okay. So first I wanted to show you that the acting administrator of this particular organization says that we're not observing any aliens or threats to Earth, yet they for some reason cut the feed when it went by. Mars. That's kind of interesting. Then you got this NASA guy here.
That's true. They did do that.
Probably a chemical engineer. I'm guessing he's a chemical engineer based on what he was saying. My background is mechanical engineering. Check out what he has to say here.
Chemistry of Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are well known. One of the characteristics of our spacecraft is that they have nickel alloys that they are made of. And the reason we chose to make these alloys useful for our spacecraft, is because they are so adaptable to the space environment.
Okay.
Iron, on the other hand, is not. So we don't put iron into any of our spacecraft.
Makes sense.
Well, when we study the chemistry of 3-eye atlas, one of the things that we see is that there's no iron there appreciably.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But there are nickel alloys.
This is interesting. So they have, of course, nickel alloys, which is very much what we use in our space vehicles currently. They go into space like shuttle rockets. We use nickel, and 3-eye atlas is predominantly or has a large portion of nickel in it, alloy in it as well. And actually, this guy could be in metallurgy. Actually, it's hard to know exactly what he's into, but he's probably a chemical engineer.
Right, they don't try and gaslight us saying we're arguing against ourselves. Go and gaslight someone else, mate.
For sure. Based on what he was saying. And so that's something very interesting. That's on top of all the other weird anomalies with regards to the object. These Fibonacci sequence light pulses coming from it, the fact that its tail is acting very bizarre on it, the speed, the way it came into our solar system. It's only the third object like it. We also have apparently Marjorie here on Dilmar talking about UFOs and aliens. Check out what she had to say.
I think people deserve to know the truth about it.
There was a hearing recently, right? Both of them are in the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot more came out. And there's a lot more people who are on board now. Very, very serious people.
I think it's a serious issue. Yeah, I'd love to know more about it, but we're not told anything about it.
In the film, one of the senior intelligence officials named Jay Stratton, he was the director of Air and Space Warfare of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then he ran the U.S. government.
He goes on to say something. Here, let me play it ahead of here.
At the Pentagon, in a serious office space. And his superiors told him that they thought these things were demons and that he was doing the devil.
That's amazing. So a lot of these high up officials believe these aliens are actually fallen angels or demons or something like that. And I find that very interesting. A lot of people are saying that they're actually interdimensional, not from other planets. And also I wanted to get into one last thing. So you've seen gargoyle. Obviously, right now it's one day past Halloween, but you've seen gargoyles on the side of a church on these old ancient buildings. You may have wondered to yourself, why are these weird
Diane, don't call him a child. He'll take his skateboard and go home.
creatures on the side of a building? Like, especially on a church, you're like, why is there this weird dragon, demon, evil creature looking thing on the side of a church? And I always wondered that myself. apparently, my researcher discovered this. Romanus of Rouen, this is where it came from, Saint Romanus. This man who was a saint that did miracles. And one of the things that he did, this is where we get the gargoyle from, that why they put these statues on the side of churches and buildings. The dragon of Gargoyle, or gargoyle, from the word throat, is a dragon from the legend of Saint Romanus of Rouen. The monster does not figure into the older account of the saint's life, but being recorded the first time in 1394. The account described how, in the wild swamps of the left bank of Seine, a huge serpent dragon rampaged, who devoured and destroyed people and beasts of the field. Romanus decided to hunt in this area, but could not find any man to help him. One man actually did help him, a man condemned to death who had nothing to lose. They arrived in the serpent's land, and Romanus drew the sign of the cross on the beast. It then lay down at his feet. It then lay down on his feet, let Romanus put his stole on him, or I guess a rope or something, as a leash, in which manner he led it into the town to be condemned to death and burned on the parvis of the cathedral, or thrown into the Seine, according to other authors. This legend was the origin of the bishop's privilege, lasting until 1790, to pardon one prisoner condemned to death each year. So apparently,
does it? It really means wolf. That's funny, Shorty.
On the side of the building or something, is from what I understand. And this is where they got the idea of putting like the head of a dragon on the side of a church, is to warn monsters, devils, whatever, hey, look what happened. This could happen again to you, right? Because of this saint and what he did. So this is actually where it came from. The history of gargoyles, they're not evil like many Christians falsely believe. The reason is why so many churches had gargoyles was actually to mock the devil and ward off evil spirits and demons. Interesting. And I talked about Saint Romanus, between gargoyles and dragon lights. So,
do you remember when Notre Dame burned about 5 years ago? I cheered that. I cheered for that to burn down.
Patine seraphim. So it's actually related also to the divine council. You had seraphim in the divine council, and it could be related in some respect, maybe as a hybrid nemesis, or it could be just something directly related. Goes back to the divine council where God had serpentine dragon-like seraphim that would hold torches of fire, much like candles, to help to keep impurities away from his throne. Modern day Protestants keep acting like medieval saints were all stupid. No, some do. Think that no one knew how to be Christian. This is an interesting point he's making, because of course there are certain Protestant leaders that will mock things they don't understand. Like they'll mock this whole gargoyle thing and not even know the history of it. And that's the thing that we don't like to do here on my channel, is we actually like to look into the ancient history and figure out what this actually meant at one time, so that we actually don't come off ignorant, right? And of course, this is also something we saw. They had holy astral dragons in the heavens, according to 2nd Enoch. So there's actually good dragons. So imagine, so you have fallen angels, right? Obviously, some angels are good, some are bad. Well, some of these look like dragons. Some angel class look like dragons. And some of those angels fell that look like dragons, and some of them didn't fall. So you have holy astral dragons that are actually good as well. And so this is interesting to note. I've talked about in the past how there's a chapter removed from the book of Esther where you have a good dragon fighting an evil dragon for power over the earth. A red dragon, as we see in Revelation, versus a white dragon. And I think God represents himself sometimes as a dragon. We saw it in Psalms where he says he breathes fire out of his nostrils, which obviously the only thing that does that is a dragon. To my knowledge, I don't know of anything else that breathes fire out of his nostrils, but God depicts himself as a dragon in some cases in Scripture. So it's interesting. I just wanted to show you guys that as well. We also have this last thing. I talked about this before a little bit, how there's actually in ancient Chinese records about Jesus from 4,524.
I already showed that, guys. Got in ancient China. We went through their records and found Noah's Ark. We found Genesis. We found Exodus. We found Jesus. The Chinese recorded a lot that they didn't know the Jews recorded too, but it's the same story.
Years ago. Actually, no, 4,524 years before Christ. Wow, that's even more. That would be 6,000 years, 6,000 plus years ago. Because you had Shangdi as the most ancient religion in China, which seems to be related to essentially the religion of Noah, essentially the religion after the Tower of Babel that would have been represented by Noah.
Yeah.
Because that's even before Israel. And all the countries at the Tower of Babel, all the people went to their respective countries with different languages, and they were assigned.
Ancient Chinese documents claim the 3 wise men come from China.
Watchers. They were assigned divine beings, angels, whatever you want to call them, to guide those countries the right direction, although many of them fell. A lot of them fell and they ended up getting worshipped themselves. This is where a lot of these false gods came from, the Greek mythology, all that. But they talk about it in this video. Check this out.
So now we are here. We're at 2000 and
oh my goodness. Advertisement, of course. I always have to refresh this stuff literally every minute to keep from ads. All right. We're almost done here. It's got 2 ads, of course. Non-skippable. Wow, great. Here we go.
现在我们在2009年这里
year of the ox.
牛年
If this is a youth service, I'll say, turn your neighbor and moo. All right, anyway.
不可以跟旁边人摸啊
Okay.
This is the one I showed, guys. This is exactly it. It goes for 2 hours.
This is from 2009.
But you know what? The Chinese history stretches until 2500 BC.
华人的历史可以一直往前推到主前2500多年
Okay,
Now-
so it's 4,500 years ago, not 6,000. All right.
I played this about 2 years ago.
Taoism came about 6 BC.
道教大概是公元前6世纪来的
About the 5th BC, you have Confucianism, and you have, I spelled wrongly, Buddhism.
而大概在公元第5世纪的时候有儒家跟
Look at that, all within 5 years of Christ being born.
佛教出现
So the big question is, what about those 2,000 years?
问题就在这中间2000多年呢
Before Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism, what did the Chinese people believe in?
在道教、儒家、佛教出现之前，华人相信的是什么？
What is interesting is this. We have very clear historical records.
很有意思。
It's Shangdi. He's going to get into that. I'm actually curious where he's going to show some evidence of it, what we're talking about here. Yeah. So these are some of the, these are some historians he's showing there. Here we go. Shangdi, here it is another name for Tian. The spirits do not have 2 lords. So this now I think he's going to actually show how these ancient teachings from 2500 BC in China match scripture in the Bible.
上帝就是天的另外一个名字。
And he says and he says this, the spirits do not have 2 lords. In other words, the Lord your God is one.
他讲得很清楚，只有独一真神，没有2个主，两要为名，其中挺。
So here we go. This is actually
Dave, there's not much historical evidence, archaeological evidence against for Jesus, but they have found Noah's Ark. They have found where they crossed the Red Sea and the chariots got destroyed. They have found they found the Ark of the Covenant. So they have found a lot of things.
from their ancient
Just no room he lived in.
records from this Shangdi religion, which again, like I said, is basically a Noah type religion. Of the old in the beginning, there was a dark, great chaos without form and dark.
Jesus spent time in Nazareth when he was a kid. Before, I think that's where he's called Egypt, from Nazareth.
The 5 planets had not begun to fall, nor the 2 lights to shine. In the midst of it, there existed neither form nor sound. This is literally Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. That's actually very much similar to how it's written in Genesis. I think that's Genesis 1, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that is Genesis 1. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think they got some other examples as well. Yeah, here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, they go into how these symbols, Chinese symbols, actually relate to scripture as well. So they go into a bunch of stuff like how the symbols themselves actually relate to things in scripture. And I don't want to play this whole thing, it's pretty long. But he gets into all that as well. At any rate, that's my video. I kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Well, thanks for watching.
Okay, guys, I'll finish off with JW.
Experience smarter harvesting automatically with John Deere's Total Harvesting Solutions. Cover more ground faster with more throughput and smart technology. Set limits to
the Earth has a frequency, and the frequency goes up. Like I said, it's affecting birds, it's affecting bees, it's affecting all kinds of wildlife out there. The research is in my reports because I know what these hot blobs are, I know what magma is, I know plumbing, you know. Unfortunately, the public doesn't know. My survival is not important in this realm. My thing is to save as many as I can.
A new study reveals a giant blob of hot rock located beneath New Hampshire.
Former Professor Fred Zillenbach from Union College, New York, has a neurological illness. And everything he's saying right now is his words that he knows could be his last mission, and he takes this seriously. So you need to listen closer to what he has to say next. What did you hear specifically on the East Coast? Supposedly this hot blob coming over there with magma increasing.
That hot blob, I mean, the mainstream media said nothing to worry about. You know, it's not going to be a problem for the next
million years.
So the blob, that's what it appears is happening under the Appalachians. It's trying to get out, basically.
Okay, well,
in fact,
I'm not sure we want it to.
The blob has actually erupted volcanoes, but that was like 80 million years ago. So we don't have to worry about it erupting in new volcanoes anytime soon.
Okay, Doug, you've given us something more to worry about.
but the article keeps on coming over and over and over again. Okay, why are you telling me this if it's not going to be a problem for a million years? I'm not going to be here in a million years.
For real?
Why tell me this now?
I'm saying, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's like, oh, I'm telling you, but don't worry, you'll be dead.
You're preparing me for something, okay? I know what's coming because all these things, what they are doing is what they call soft disclosures. That's what they are. They're preparing the public for these things. You know, they're seeing how the public's going to react.
And everybody tuning in, whether you're new or not, I read your comments. You said booms was happening all across New Jersey, North Carolina, all the way up. But soft disclosure, Professor, everybody.
Okay, guys, this is 2 days old.
Tuning in right now, and whether you're across the world, want to know what you know that the public doesn't know. But this will help keep them aware and alert so they can see the signs of what's to come before it happens. They're like saying, all right, it's time to exit now. It's time to move back a little further now. It's time to get serious about this. What else happens on the East Coast that shows this significant movement of this hot blob magma?
Well, you're going to see, what you're going to see with that, you're going to see more earthquake activity. You're going to see more earthquake activity in the United States. That you're going to see.
Just days ago, Maryland was hit with a rare earthquake showing strange seismic activity. But what makes it more unusual, just hours before that, the Atlantic Ocean was struck by earthquakes. And now, Professor Zillenbach reveals if the hot blob starts moving massively, you will see this happen.
You're going to see more earthquake activity.
Dave, you got to watch that Wizard of Oz decode and leave a message, and then we can communicate to each other. You'll like it, so just leave a message on what you thought of it. And you're at Newcastle. I'm actually at Lake Haven, just between Wyong and Toukley.
above a 6.0,
Not far from Newcastle.
that will happen. For me, it's based upon events, and it's my thing is when the biblical event, and what I mean by a biblical event meaning a super volcano erupting, such as the one in Italy.
I can show y'all something about that.
Or New Madrid Falls, or Yellowstone erupting, something to that nature, where great loss of life would happen and
they're all super volcanoes.
Damage in trillions. That would be an example of a biblical event.
Well, Italy's super volcano you just talked about is actually showing signs it could be getting ready to erupt. It's videos coming out of all the haze, and then the ground is boiling over there. Apparently, thousands are in danger. We gotta watch this closely. That's why you should just stop and hit subscribe right now, because you need to know exactly what's going to be happening. We'll give you the warning signs, survival alerts before these things happen, so you can know what's going on. Let's get back to it. So that's when you believe on the East Coast that the magma shift would get more significant, because that big eruption will be feeding exactly different systems across the United States.
Oh yes, I do believe that. But after that, you're going to reach part two. We're in what I would call, in the report I did 30 years ago, we have reached what I call in the pole shift timeline. We have reached the domino effect phase, where everything in the media is so overwhelming, you can't even keep up with current events. You can't keep up. I can't keep up. The average person can't keep up with it. We're all everybody is so overwhelmed. Nobody even wants to turn on the news anymore, because it's nothing but disasters after disaster.
But that was yesterday, New York City underwater.
And it's the domino effect phase. The next phase, called the domino effect phase 2, when you're talking about biblical effects, and you're talking about biblical effects going back to back. And this is when people start panicking.
Okay, so if that's when the packing begins, when you start to see those events happen.
Oh yeah, this is when internet shuts down. This is when everybody.
So I live about 5 miles away from Soldiers Beach. Yeah, Mum?
You can have a bit of milk
Yeah, I told you this morning I am.
The test gone from
Start
Yeah, I know.
figuring out what the deal is.
All right, so to engage with the audience and the people here, if you could say there was better places to be, and we get it, a lot of shifts is happening everywhere. What were the best places during these situations to be currently, whether you're in America or whether you're in Europe?
Picking you
what
up.
Zones?
You're on there.
Obviously, everybody knows the coastline is not safe.
With over 20 million reward seats, use your Qantas points to travel Australia and the world. Earn Qantas points on credit cards and all of your everyday spending, like groceries, energy, fuel, and more. Open the Qantas app to explore over 500 partners and start earning points today. Points make it possible.
I always capture every moment. One day, they'll thank me for the memories. Look at my dress.
Breakfast convenient. All Carmen's granola. But yet, you don't want to be anywhere, and it goes like, I'm in New Jersey, and forget it. There's no way that I will be able to stay here, and I know that. but survival is not my key. My family's survival is, but for me, it's not. But I make my peace.
Dave, did you grow up on the coast? I grew up in Blacktown, Sydney.
With God a while ago on that one. But the West Coast, East Coast, the Gulf, probably anywhere, the Mississippi River, I wouldn't want to be around. Anywhere where they have nuclear silos, nuclear bases, Air Force bases, because we also have a war going on. And anything can happen. And you don't want to be too close to the things. And I will be providing these reports what I would call safe zones. Where to be after the shift, what areas are going to be habitable and what areas are not going to be habitable. And I think that's the reason why we're having this war as well. Is it, why are we having this war? Ask yourself, what's the reason why? Why are we having all these conflicts? One reason I could say is land. Battle for land. That's why they want. That's what they're battling for. It's land. And why? Especially over in Europe. They're definitely going to need land over there after the shift. There's going to be a lot of lands that are going to be underwater over there. So, and another thing.
Okay, we watch this guy on Fridays, Mike from Around the World, and he tells you what's going on basically around the world. And he said, what's going on with all these massive floods everywhere? The volcanoes are heating up the sea and the moisture's going into the air and there's nowhere for it to go because the sea's too hot. And that's why there's so much water in the air now. And it only comes down in a flash flood. So he gave a reason why, and it made sense because all the volcanoes are blowing.
Thing is, why does Trump want Greenland so bad? Ask that question. Ask that question. Why does he want Greenland so bad?
I heard there's a portal there in Greenland.
Greenland not go underwater during the shift.
Oh, I think Greenland will probably be on the West Coast. I don't think it's going to be underwater.
So what you saying is going to shift and move?
Oh yeah, there's going to be some areas that are going to be in different places.
Wow.
And that's based on like some tectonic movements you've been tracking?
Mm-hmm.
So is there any movement for Greenland currently right now? And Greenland is this big battle zone because maybe it's going to be like this safe haven after a big event?
Good point.
Well, a lot of lands are going to, well, that may be, the ice is melting over there, as you can see. They want to start drilling over there. They want to start drilling up in Canada now. They want to start drilling over in the Arctic right now because why? The ice is melting. That's what I'm going to be foreseeing here because some ice are going to be melting in some areas and an ice age is going to be growing in other parts of the world. I do think we're going to have.
Dave, I'm from Blacktown, but I lived at Mount George for a few years. Wow, hey, we're very similar.
You know, we may have an ice age probably in the next 10 to 20 years, maybe, probably in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, it said 2.0 coming. Europe Ice Age 2.0 coming. The new polar vortex is already coming. This winter's going to be super cold.
And we had the nuclear winter in 1816 when that was a volcano that erupted in 1815.
That was Krakatoa, wasn't it?
And that caused in 1816 the year without a summer.
That was Krakatoa, Indonesia, I'm pretty sure.
Let me just search real quick. See, when you get old, you can't think things anymore.
Well, I imagine you have a bunch of research in your brain, so
Yeah, I need a new hard drive in my brain is what I need. Mount Tambora.
Oh.
Mount Tambora, Indonesia.
The one that you specifically talk about for the East Coast, I have to bring that one up because that one is one you said if there's a volcano off that area that went off, the East Coast would need to be more aware about the shift of magma movement. So they say that the waves, if something happened, it wouldn't be such a bad tsunami, it wouldn't reach the East Coast. But East Coast have an issue with landslide like tsunamis, and would that be a trigger point for that?
It depends. It depends how bad the eruption.
True. With this knowledge that we have been presented and this opportunity is golden from God, can't waste it. Every breath, every second matters. And that's why I felt that this was an important interview to do. I felt this was aligned with purpose, not just intent.
Absolutely. I had out here and speak. I had to. It was my duty to come out here. I refuse. If there's a disaster coming and I feel something is about to happen, I'm going to come out and say something.
No matter how you feel in these disastrous times.
Okay, guys, I'll finish with one more and that's it.
To clear a storm drain.
Wow, unbelievable.
Dave, just so you know, I don't know what's going to be on these videos. I watched the first 2 or 3 minutes to make sure the audio and that's okay, but I don't know what they're actually going to say. So I don't know what this is going to say.
Unbelievable video there, and it's not just flooding. The wind sending trees toppling down onto homes, cars, and roads in New York City. And it's out for some Con Ed customers. Roughly 1,600 people are without electricity.
Man, look how hectic that is.
Reports are pouring in from across the state, confirming that what happened in New York City is one of the worst floods in modern history. Central Park recorded over 1.8 inches of rain in just a few hours, and LaGuardia Airport saw nearly 2 inches, numbers not seen in more than a century. Streets turned into rivers. Cars were swept away. People were trapped in their basements. 3 lives have already been lost. But
New York's at sea level, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's at sea level.
this is not just a weather event. This is a reflection of the nation's spiritual and moral condition.
Yep.
Subway systems were paralyzed. Electricity failed in several districts, and even emergency services were overwhelmed. Flights at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark were canceled in large numbers. More than 10,000 flights nationwide were delayed or grounded due to both weather and the ongoing government shutdown, which has caused severe staffing shortages in air traffic control and security. People were stranded for hours, some sleeping on airport floors, uncertain when they could return home. Meanwhile, chaos has been breaking out in other parts of the country. In Washington, D.C., in Chicago, in
Bas, we're going to get a pole shift because it's the only thing in the Bible that says every mountain we moved out of place. That can only happen with a pole shift. Every mountain.
Los Angeles, angry crowds have taken to the streets. National Guard units have been called in to control violent demonstrations that have erupted due to the economic standstill and delayed government aid. Food banks are overflowing with desperate families, while social welfare offices remain closed because of the shutdown. The federal system has come to a grinding halt, and millions are suffering the consequences. This is not a small issue anymore. America is currently in a state of emergency, not yet declared publicly, but visibly unfolding. The signs are everywhere. The stock market has been swinging unpredictably. Basic supplies in some states are running low. The Postal Service has warned of delivery disruptions due to unpaid employees. And to make matters worse, political tensions in Washington have reached a boiling point. The shutdown itself is now tied to a major filibuster, and the controversy surrounds none other than former President Donald Trump.
President Trump is calling on Senate Republicans to get rid of the filibuster so they can bypass Democrats, essentially, and reopen the federal government. Trump posted this on social media last night, quote, because of the fact that the Democrats have gone stone cold crazy, the choice is clear. Initiate the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster.
Dave, it's the Democrats' fault. They're holding up the money. Do you remember Australia? Malcolm Fraser done that to Gough Whitlam, withheld the money, and it cost Whitlam the prime ministership.
Meanwhile, the Senate has adjourned until Monday with no major breakthroughs. Both sides of the aisle claim they're open to talks, but no apparent progress has been made.
Sources indicate that this filibuster is not just about policy disagreements, but a deeper conflict between two powerful forces within the system. Those who want to reopen government functions immediately, and those who are holding out to gain leverage over national decisions. Trump's influence in this standoff has become a central focus, with his support.
Yeah, I sort of worked that out, Shawnee, because if 2 inches of rain affected them, they couldn't have been up in the mountains or anything.
There's claiming that
they had to be on the sea level.
The shutdown is a necessary step to expose corruption, while his critics call it a reckless move that endangers millions. As these political storms rage, ordinary Americans are paying the price. Federal workers are going without paychecks. Healthcare services are being delayed. National parks, transportation departments, and food assistance programs are either shut down or operating under extreme pressure. The public mood is one of confusion, fear, and anger. And as if that wasn't enough, nature itself seems to be joining in this great shaking. Unprecedented weather patterns have struck multiple states simultaneously. Wildfires in the west, floods in the east, and violent storms tearing through the south. Many are calling it coincidence, but deep down, there's a sense that these events are connected, that something larger is taking place. People are beginning to realize that these are not normal times. America is trembling. It's as if the land itself is groaning under the weight of corruption, division, and rebellion. The foundations of the nation, both moral and structural, are cracking, and no one seems to have an answer. Now, let's step back for a moment. Look around and see what's truly happening. When the government shuts down, the systems we've depended on begin to collapse. When the economy trembles, it affects every home. When natural disasters strike, they expose how fragile our infrastructure really is. But when all of these happen together at the same time across the same land, it's a signal. It's a divine alarm. In the Bible, whenever a nation turned away from God and embraced pride, division, and immorality, the land would begin to react. The prophets warned Israel again and again, but few listened. And when the warnings were ignored, the consequences followed swiftly. We are seeing a parallel today. Floods are not only water, they represent the overflow of iniquity, the washing away of false securities. Fires represent the consuming judgment that burns away impurities. Economic collapses represent the shaking of false altars.
Wow, 1.7 meters.
Every headline
They're a Catholic country, so I'd expect that. Punishments from God.
is echoing a biblical truth, that what is built on sand cannot stand when the storm comes. This is why we must understand the times.
Thanks, Di. Good night.
21:25-26. There shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear. This is exactly what is happening now. Distress of nations, perplexity, fear, confusion, and a shaking that no one can deny. Many will say, it's just a flood, or it's just politics. But those who are awake know that these are warnings, loud, visible, undeniable.
Yep.
These events are telling us that change is not coming. It has already begun.
Yep.
The systems that once felt unbreakable are breaking. The illusion of control is fading. The comfort of the old world is vanishing before our eyes. We are standing at the edge of a new chapter, not
Tommy Robertson just spent an hour and a half telling us about that.
only for America, but for the entire world. The shift has already started. The way we live, work, and think is about to change drastically. There will be new rules, new realities, and new stories.
No, go away,
What
man.
we once considered normal will soon be history. That's why we must prepare, not in fear, but in awareness. Prepare spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Prepare for uncertainty, because when the systems of man fail, those rooted in faith will stand firm. The Lord is calling his people to wake up, to detach from dependence on worldly stability, and to anchor themselves in truth. It's time to simplify our lives, to value relationships over possessions, and to seek purpose.
Good night, Dave. Glad to meet you, mate.
In emergencies, UNICEF is there for children with life-saving help in 48 hours.
Go forth and ask the great engine of search for the meat key!
What is an engine of search?
I don't know!
The coming days will test the strength of every heart. There will be confusion and panic, but those who have spiritual discernment will see beyond the chaos. They will understand that this is the refining fire of a new beginning. The truth is, we can no longer rely on the same old systems, government, economy, or technology to save us. The very structures that gave us convenience are now showing their limits. Even leaders are confused, unsure of what to do next. But that's where divine wisdom steps in. When human wisdom fails, God's plan prevails. These signs are not meant to scare us, but to prepare us. The floodwaters in New York, the shutdown in Washington, the unrest in cities, and the unpredictable shifts in weather, all are pointing to one thing. America has reached a turning point. The decisions made in these next weeks will shape not just
It's just not America. The whole world's reached a turning point for the worse.
the nation, but the world. Tonight could mark the beginning of a major shift. Something could happen that will alter the direction of the country permanently. Whether it's political, economic, or natural, it will be significant. But those who are alert will not be shaken. They will be ready. Remember,
Okay, it's only 4 hours old, guys.
when darkness covers the earth, the light of truth shines brighter. When the systems of men collapse, the kingdom of God advances. This is not the end. It is the unveiling. It is the moment when illusion gives way to revelation. So as you hear these reports and watch these events unfold, don't see them as random tragedies. See them as a wake-up call. The shaking of America is not the wrath of God. It's the mercy of God trying to awaken a sleeping nation. Because before any great restoration, there must first be revelation. Be prepared, because the next few days and weeks will test everything we know. There will be fear in the air, but peace within those who understand the signs. Everything is shifting, but for those with eyes to see, this is not destruction, it's transformation. The flood, the fire, the shutdown, the protests, all are pieces of a divine puzzle coming together. And soon the picture will be clear. So stay strong, stay watchful, and above all, stay faithful. Because the greatest shaking often precedes the greatest awakening. Now, let's pray together for America.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today in a time unlike any other. The nation is shaking, the people are fearful, and confusion is spreading across the land. Lord, we can see that what is happening around us is not just a natural disaster or a political crisis. It is a spiritual moment that demands our full attention.
Amen.
Father, we lift up the United States of America before you. This land that once stood as a light of freedom and faith now faces storms, division, and uncertainty. Floods have struck our cities, chaos has filled our streets, and our leaders seem lost in arguments while people.
I think it's too late for the US, same as it's too late for England. England's got problems with the Muslims, and the US has got problems with the illegal immigrants. I think it's too late for you guys.
People struggle just to survive. Lord, you see everything. You see the pain of the families who have lost loved ones in New York's flooding. You see the fear of the people who can no longer afford food, the exhaustion of workers without jobs, and the cries of parents who no longer know what tomorrow will bring. We ask for mercy, Lord. We know that judgment is real, and we know you are just. But we also know that you are full of compassion. Have mercy on America. Forgive us for turning away from your truth and for allowing pride, greed, and corruption to take control of the nation. We have called evil good and good evil.
No, I'm not
celebrated
picking up
sin and
anymore.
silenced
No.
righteousness. But Lord, you are still the same God who can turn a nation back to you in one moment. We pray today that every believer will wake up from spiritual sleep. Let every church, every pastor, every family, and every home understand the seriousness of this hour. Open our eyes, Lord, to see that this is not the time for comfort or complacency. This is the time to seek your face, to repent, to humble ourselves, and to prepare for what is coming. Father, we pray for divine protection over every innocent life across this nation. Protect those who are suffering through the flooding, those who are stuck without food, those who are living in fear of violence or chaos. Surround them with your presence, Lord. Provide for them when there seems to be no way. Let your people rise up to help one another, to share, to give, and to care for those in need.
Okay, guys, I'm out. God bless. See you Thursday. No, Wednesday, my Wednesday.
Because in times like these, love must overcome fear. We also bring before you the leaders of this nation, whether it's in government, law enforcement, or communities. Lord, touch their hearts. Remove
Just letting the prayer finish.
selfishness, pride, and blindness from their minds. Let them make decisions that bring stability, not more confusion. We pray that you expose every lie and uncover every hidden agenda that works against the people. Let truth rise above deception. Lord, we see the division in this country. People are fighting each other instead of standing together. The enemy has planted hatred and fear among us, and it is tearing the nation apart. But we know, Father, that only you can heal this wound. Only your spirit can unite hearts again. So, we ask you to pour out a spirit of repentance and reconciliation over this land. Let every heart that is hardened begin to soften. Let people remember that we are one under you, not divided by politics, race, or ideology. Father, we also acknowledge that change is coming, not just political change, but spiritual change. We can feel that something massive is building up, and the way we live may never be the same again. Prepare us, Lord, for what lies ahead. Teach us to live simply, to be grateful, and to depend fully on you. If we must face harder days, let our faith not fail. If our systems collapse, let our hope remain firm. If the world around us becomes unstable, let our hearts remain anchored in you. Lord, we don't ask to be spared from every trial, but we ask to be strengthened through it. Make us wise and alert. Give us discernment to know when to act, when to wait, and when to speak. Let us not be deceived by false voices or distracted by worldly noise. Keep us close to your word, because your word is our compass when the world loses direction. Father, we also pray for the younger generation. Many of them are growing up without knowing you, confused by what they see, angry at what they experience. Touch their hearts, Lord. Raise up a generation that will not bow to fear or darkness, but will stand boldly in truth. Let the youth of America become flames of light in this time of uncertainty. Lord, we place every home under your covering. Strengthen families again.
Wow, great prayer.
Let peace return to the household. Remove the spirit of division, addiction, and despair that has entered so many homes. Let there be unity and love once more between parents and children, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters. Heal broken hearts and restore lost relationships. We also pray for the church, Lord, the body of Christ in America. Many have become silent, comfortable, or distracted by the world. Wake up your church. Let pastors speak truth again without fear of criticism. Let believers be bold and live out their faith even in persecution. Let the church be a refuge for the hurting and a place of hope for the lost. Father, we don't understand everything that's happening, but we know that nothing is outside of your control. The floods, the chaos, the shutdowns, the protests, they all remind us how fragile human systems are. You alone are our refuge. You alone are unshakable. When governments fail, you remain. When the economy falls, you still provide. When fear spreads, you still bring peace. So today, we commit America into your hands. We trust that you will use even this shaking to bring about a great awakening. Let every heart that still listens to you rise up with faith, not fear. Let people turn their eyes away from the distractions and fix them on you. Lord, if this is the hour of testing, then give us strength to endure. If this is the time of change, then prepare us to adapt without losing our faith. Let us not cling to material things, but to your eternal truth. And if judgment is near, let mercy triumph for those who call on your name. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and the only hope for this nation. Amen.
If you are sleeping in a
Okay, guys, God bless.
you are wrecking your body and your breathing. Chronic neck pain is caused by how you sleep, wrecking those 7 vertebrae